The first time my son laughed, I thought the noise from the bar had swallowed my question. I said, "Could you come sit with your mother for a couple hours?" Evan laughed again. My phone was on speaker beside Ruth's water cup. I'd put it there because I was trying to untangle the sleeves of my jacket from the straps of a canvas bag, and because Ruth was asleep. At least, I thought she was. "Dad, she's in a hospital," Evan said. "They literally employ people to sit with sick people." Behind his voice came music, glasses knocking together, somebody yelling about a missed shot on a television. "She gets scared when she wakes up," I said. "I just need to shower and pick up some clothes." "You need permission to shower?" "No." "Then go. Mom's 64, not 6. Ruth's hand moved under the blanket. I looked at her face. Her eyes were closed, but the line of her mouth had changed. "Can you come or not?" I asked. Evan made a sound halfway between a sigh and another laugh. "You've spent 40 years telling everybody you can handle anything, so handle it. Mom's always done the hard parts for you anyway." He hung up before I could decide which part of that sentence to answer. The screen went dark. In the sudden quiet, Ruth opened her eyes. "Don't," she whispered. I pulled the phone closer to me. "Don't what?" "Don't tell him I was awake." 6 days earlier, she had walked into Mercy General wearing lipstick. That detail bothered me more than it should have. Ruth didn't wear lipstick to take out the trash or go to the grocery store, but she wore it to the hospital because, according to her, if you looked healthy, medical people treated you like you planned to stay that way. "It's not a job interview," I told her while we waited for the elevator. "You're wearing the good shirt. This is not the good shirt. It has all its buttons." The elevator arrived. Ruth stepped inside and looked at my collar. "You missed one?" I fixed it without checking because Ruth was usually right about buttons. The surgery was supposed to be straightforward. That was the word Dr. Patel used twice. Straightforward. He said it in the pre-op room while Ruth sat in a paper gown with her purse clutched against her stomach. She had been having pain for months, though I only knew about the last 3 weeks of it. She said she hadn't wanted to make a production out of every ache. "You could have told me," I said after the doctor left. "I did tell you. You said your stomach was acting up. It was my stomach, and it was acting up. That's not the same as saying you're in pain every day." Ruth gave me a look over the top of her glasses. "You told me to stop eating tomatoes. I thought it was heartburn. I know what you thought." Before I could ask what that meant, a nurse came to wheel her away. Ruth handed me her purse, then took it back, removed her phone, handed it to me again, and made me promise not to lose either one. "What do I do with your phone? Answer it. What if it's somebody I don't want to talk to? Then you'll learn what I do all day." She smiled when she said it. I smiled too. That was how we handled warnings in our marriage. We dressed them up as jokes and sent them past each other. Dana called while Ruth was still in surgery. She lived outside Columbus and had offered to drive in, but Ruth had told her not to waste a day off for something routine. Dana asked me what the surgeon's name was, how long the procedure would take, and whether I had eaten. "Patel, 2 hours, yes. What did you eat?" That wasn't one of the original questions. "Dad, a breakfast sandwich." "From where?" I watched a man in blue scrubs push an empty wheelchair down the hall. "A place that sells them." "You didn't eat?" "I had coffee." She was quiet for a second. "Call me when she's out." "I will. And if anything changes, don't decide for everybody that we don't need to know." "I don't do that, okay?" The way she said okay meant she had just decided not to fight with me while her mother was under anesthesia. Evan texted about 20 minutes later. "How's Mom?" I wrote, "Still in surgery." He sent back a thumbs up. At the time, I found that reassuring. The surgery took 4 hours instead of 2. Dr. Patel came into the waiting room with his cap still on and sat down beside me, which I immediately disliked. People with good news stayed standing. There had been bleeding. There had been an injury they hadn't seen clearly on the scans. They had fixed what they could, but Ruth would need closer monitoring. He used the phrase "the next 24 hours" in a way that made those hours sound less like time and more like a narrow bridge. I called Dana first. She said she was packing before I finished the second sentence. Then I called Evan. "Okay," he said after I explained it, "but she's stable?" "They're taking her upstairs." "So she's stable, I guess." "You guess? I'm telling you what the doctor told me." "All right. Claire and I can swing by tomorrow. Tonight might be better." There was a pause. "Visiting hours are probably almost over. I don't think that matters in intensive care." "Well, it usually matters more in intensive care." I could hear Claire in the background asking him something. Evan covered the phone, then came back sounding impatient. Text me the room when you know it. He visited the next afternoon for 11 minutes. I knew it was 11 because I had been staring at the clock when he arrived, and I was staring at it again when he left. Ruth was awake but groggy. Evan stood at the foot of her bed, holding a vase of flowers wrapped in crackling plastic. He kept shifting the vase from one hand to the other, as if it were getting heavier. "You look good, Mom," he said. Ruth looked terrible. Her skin had a gray cast, her lips were dry, and clear tubes ran under her blanket. She still tried to smile for him. "You didn't have to bring flowers." Claire picked them out. "They're beautiful." "They don't allow them in this unit," I said. Evan glanced at me. "Then why did the gift shop sell them? I don't think the gift shop checks your destination. That seems like a design flaw." He set the vase on the windowsill. A nurse removed it 3 minutes later. Evan asked Ruth if she needed anything. Before she could answer, he answered for her. "Dad's got you covered, right?" "I'm here," I said. "Exactly." He squeezed her ankle through the blanket, told her to get some rest, and left, because he had parked in a 15-minute space. Dana arrived that evening with an overnight bag and the expression of someone prepared to personally discipline the hospital. She stayed until after midnight. She found the nurse when Ruth's pain medication was late, wrote down the names of 3 doctors, and cleaned Ruth's glasses with the edge of her own shirt. When I told her to go sleep, she said, "Have you? I'm not driving 3 hours tomorrow. Neither am I." "You've got work. So do you. I'm retired. Then stop acting like you're the only person whose time is free." That sounded like Dana. Even her concern came with a corner on it. She stayed 2 days, then went home after Ruth insisted she was improving. Before leaving, Dana took me to the cafeteria and made me open the Notes app on my phone. "Mom's medications," she said. "The nurses have those, for when she goes home. That's not for several days." "Yes, Dad. Several days from now is still coming," she dictated. I typed slowly with one finger. When she named a medication I didn't recognize, I stopped. Was she already taking that? For 3 years. For what? Dana looked at me. "There are questions you can ask your daughter that make you feel like her father. There are others that make you feel like a man who has been living in a furnished room without knowing who kept replacing the light bulbs." "Blood pressure," she said. I knew she took something for blood pressure. "What's it called?" "I don't need a quiz. I'm not quizzing you. I'm making sure you can take care of her. I've been taking care of her since Tuesday. You've been sitting beside her." The words hit harder because Dana didn't say them cruelly. She just tapped the next medication on her list. On the 7th day, Ruth was transferred to a regular room. The nurses called it progress. Ruth called it a smaller television. She was awake more often, but waking wasn't always gentle. Once she grabbed my wrist and asked why her mother hadn't come. Her mother had been dead 22 years. Another time she woke crying and couldn't explain why. I pressed the call button, but the nurse was helping someone down the hall. By the time she arrived, Ruth had calmed down and apologized to both of us for being difficult. After that, I stopped leaving the room for more than a few minutes. The chair beside her bed folded out into something the hospital advertised as a sleeper. This was technically true in the same way a driveway could be advertised as a basketball court. I learned to sleep with one shoe on because the other foot swelled if I didn't elevate it. I washed my face in the bathroom using pink hand soap and dried myself with paper towels that came out one at a time. By that evening, I could smell myself. Ruth noticed too. "You should go home," she said. "I'm fine. You smell like the inside of your truck. My truck smells clean. Your truck smells like coffee and wet rope. I don't own rope. Then something in there has been pretending." She smiled, but it cost her. I watched the effort move across her face. "I'll go tomorrow. Go now. Sleep in our bed. You wake up confused, I wake up married to you. It's been confusing for years." That was when I called Evan. After he hung up, I wanted to pretend Ruth had only heard my half of the conversation. It was an absurd hope. The room had been so quiet that his voice seemed to remain in it. I picked up her water cup and held the straw toward her. She turned her head away. "He was out with people," I said. He probably felt put on the spot. Ruth stared at the dark window, and the music was loud. Maybe he thought I was asking him to stay all night. "You said 2 hours. I know what I said. So does he." I set the cup down. I shouldn't have had it on speaker. No. That was helpful. He didn't know you could hear. That was helpful too. A cart squeaked past the room. somewhere down the hall, a woman laughed, and for one ugly second it sounded like Evan. "He didn't mean all of it," I said. Ruth looked at me then. Her face was pale against the pillow, her hair flattened on one side. Even sick, she could make silence feel like a question I had failed to answer. Which part didn't he mean, Hal? He loves you. I didn't ask if he loves me. He came to see you. For 11 minutes. You counted? I'm the one who taught you to watch the clock when you grill chicken. Of course I counted. I pulled the vinyl chair closer and sat down. My knees cracked loud enough that, under other circumstances, Ruth would have teased me. Instead, she said, "Why did you apologize to him?" I didn't. You said you were sorry for bothering him. That's just something people say? No. That's something you say when you want the other person to know they don't owe you anything. He doesn't owe me. I was in this bed, afraid to close my eyes, and you asked our son to sit with me, not pay a bill, not give us a kidney, sit in a chair. He panicked. He laughed. I rubbed my face. My whiskers rasped against my palms. He said one thing that wasn't completely wrong, I said. Ruth's eyes softened, but not kindly. There it was. Evan's last sentence, still lying between us. Mom's always done the hard parts for you anyway. I should know more, I said, about your pills, the doctors, all of it. Yes. I had expected her to argue. You could have told me how bad the pain was. I tried. You said your stomach hurt, and you told me to stop eating tomatoes. I thought I was helping, I know. That hurt worse than if she had said I wasn't. I looked at our hands on top of the blanket. Mine was broad and spotted with age. Hers seemed smaller than it had a week ago. I reached for it, but she moved to adjust the blanket, and I couldn't tell whether the timing was deliberate. I'll talk to Evan tomorrow, I said. No. He needs to understand. No, Hal. You need to understand. Her voice was weak, so I leaned closer. I am tired, she said, of translating contempt into love. Then she closed her eyes, leaving me beside the bed, with nowhere to go but home, and no idea whether I was still the person she wanted there. I stayed. That was the first wrong decision I made after Ruth told me I needed to understand something. I told myself I was respecting her fear of waking alone, even though she had just asked me to go home. I told myself the roads were slick, though the pavement outside was dry. Mostly I sat in the vinyl chair because going home would have meant standing inside the life Ruth maintained and seeing how little of it I knew how to operate. Around midnight, her nurse came in, carrying a plastic cup of pills. Marisol was in her 40s, with purple-framed glasses and a habit of talking to Ruth before she looked at the machines. I liked her for that. "How's our pain?" she asked. "Our pain has become possessive," Ruth said. "That means it's at least a 6. 5? Marisol waited. 6, Ruth admitted. While she checked the IV, she looked at me. "You're still here. That's usually what still means." "Mr. Bennett, go home. Everybody's trying to get rid of me tonight." "No, everybody's trying to prevent me from admitting 2 patients under the same last name. I'm not a patient. You're wearing one shoe, and you just tried to drink from her water cup." I looked down. I was holding Ruth's cup. Marisol tilted her head toward the door. "Go sleep. I'll be here until 7. She wakes up frightened. Then I'll remind her where she is." Ruth swallowed her pills and settled back against the pillow. "Go," she said. I found my missing shoe under the chair. The elevator ride down took long enough for me to change my mind twice. In the lobby, a security guard watched me walk toward the wrong exit and let me get nearly all the way there before calling out. "Parking garage is the other side, sir." I knew that. He nodded the way people nod when they know you did not know that. My truck started on the first turn. I sat with both hands on the steering wheel while the heater blew cold air at my knees. The hospital windows rose above me in bright rows. I couldn't identify Ruth's room from the ground, so I picked one and watched it as if I might see her silhouette. My phone rang. I grabbed it too quickly. It was Dana. "How is she?" "Sleeping." "And you?" "In the truck." "Why?" "Because it's difficult to drive from the 7th floor. Are you going home?" "Yes." "Good." Her voice was thick with sleep. She had probably set an alarm to call me. I wondered how often she had done things like that without telling us. "Your mother heard Evan on the phone," I said. There was a pause, then the soft sound of a door closing on Dana's end. "What phone call?" I asked him to sit with her for a couple hours. And he couldn't. "That's not what you said. He was out." What did Mom hear? I look back at the hospital. We'll talk about it later. Dad. She's been through enough. I don't want you calling him and turning it into a whole thing. So you called to tell me, but I'm not allowed to react. I didn't say that. You just gave me instructions for how to feel about something you refused to explain. I'm tired, Dana. So am I. The line went quiet. I'll call you in the morning, I said. Call Mom in the morning. She hung up. Our house felt wrong without Ruth, because everything was exactly where she had left it. Her gardening shoes were beside the back door, with dirt dried around the soles. A yellow dish towel hung from the oven handle. On the kitchen table sat a grocery list in her handwriting. Oatmeal, onions, stamps, Hal's coffee. She had underlined onions twice. Yeah, I had no idea why. The refrigerator contained 3 covered bowls. I opened each one, expecting labels. Potato salad, something with beans, and half a lemon wrapped in plastic. On the middle shelf was a glass dish of chicken. I picked it up and smelled it. A square of masking tape was stuck to the lid. Hale, 375 for 35 minutes. Remove foil. Last 10. She had prepared my dinner before going to the hospital. I stood there holding cold chicken at 1 in the morning, furious with her for doing it, and more furious with myself for needing her to. I put the dish back. Upstairs, the bed looked too wide. Ruth's side had been made neatly. Mine was a pile of twisted sheet and flattened pillow. Her book lay face down on the nightstand, which she hated because she said it damaged the spine. I turned it over and found her reading glasses folded beneath it. I should have slept. Instead, I carried her purse to the dining room and emptied it onto the table. Wallet, tissues, 2 pens, hand lotion, antacids, a tape measure, cough drops, receipts, and a small notebook held shut with a rubber band. I wasn't snooping. I was looking for the card where she kept the name of her blood pressure medication. The notebook opened to a page of phone numbers. The next page had a list titled, Things Hal Will Forget. Call insurance about roof. Return drill bit to Ron. Schedule furnace. Anniversary reservation. Below that, in different ink, she had written, Ask him again about pain under ribs. I sat down. The kitchen clock ticked louder than I had ever heard it. I remembered her asking while I was half under the bathroom sink, trying to loosen a corroded shutoff valve. Do you ever get pain right here after eating? She had pressed her fingers below her ribs. I had said, only when I eat tomatoes. She had waited for more. I had gone back under the sink. I closed the notebook and left everything spread across the table because I couldn't remember the order it had been in. After showering, I put on clean clothes and lay across the bed on top of the blanket. I woke 43 minutes later, convinced I'd heard Ruth call my name. The room was empty. By 7, I was back at the hospital, carrying coffee for myself, and tea. Ruth wasn't allowed to drink. Marisol saw the cup and pointed at a sign taped to the wall. Nothing by mouth. It's not for her, I said. Ruth opened one eye. He's going to drink both and complain about having to use the bathroom. I can throw it away, then complain about wasting money. Marisol smiled. She's more alert. Dr. Patel came in later, with good news delivered cautiously. Ruth's numbers had improved. If she tolerated food and walked the corridor, she might go home the following afternoon. Ruth looked at me. Did you sleep? Yes. How long? Enough. Did you find the chicken? Dr. Patel glanced between us. It's still there, I said. You have to cook it. I'm familiar with the concept. You can't smell whether raw chicken is finished. I wasn't checking if it was finished. What were you checking? I don't know. It's attitude. Dr. Patel looked down at his clipboard, but I could see him smiling. The discharge nurse gave us 12 pages of instructions. I read every line. Ruth watched me circle times, underline warnings, and ask questions she normally would have asked. At one point she said, You don't need to write down everything. I do, apparently. Her expression changed, but the nurse was explaining signs of infection, and neither of us touched the sentence again. Ruth walked half the corridor using a rolling frame. Her hospital gown opened in the back despite 2 layers of robes, and she accused the building of trying to kill her dignity after failing to kill anything else. You're doing great, I said. I'm mooning radiology. No one's looking. That's worse. At the end of the hall, she had to stop. Her arms shook against the frame. I reached for her elbow. Don't pull me. I'm not pulling. You're hovering. I can stand somewhere else. Then you'd hover from farther away. She took 2 more steps. Going home involved a wheelchair, 3 forms, a bag of medications, the rolling frame, Ruth's purse, my canvas bag, and an argument about whether I should bring the truck to the entrance before or after getting her downstairs. The orderly settled it by telling me exactly what to do. At home, Ruth stood inside the front door and stared at the 14 steps to our bedroom. Neither of us had considered them. "I can carry you," I said. "No, I've carried heavier things. I am not a water heater. I didn't say you were. You were thinking in categories." We made it 6 steps before she sat down. I sat 2 steps below her, facing backward. "This is nice," she said after catching her breath. "We should entertain here. I'll get some cushions. And little trays. Maybe a lamp." She laughed, then held her stomach and told me not to be funny. Getting her into bed took an hour. By then, the discharge papers were on the dresser, the pharmacy bag was on the bathroom counter, and her purse was downstairs on the floor beside the stairs. I remembered the water, but forgot the straw. I brought the straw and forgot to plug in her phone. Every trip down the stairs created another reason to go back. At 4, I burned the chicken. At 5, I gave Ruth the wrong pill and realized it before she swallowed. At 6, she tried to get up without calling me, because she was tired of asking. "Stop," I said, sharper than I intended. She froze with one hand on the bed rail. "I mean, wait for me. I've been waiting for you all day." I helped her stand. Neither of us apologized. Evan texted that evening. "Mom home?" I wrote, "Yes. Need anything?" I stared at the question until the screen dimmed. Ruth was watching me. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. You make a face when you lie." "I do not. You pull your mouth in like you're trying to keep your teeth from escaping." "It's Evan." Her face went still. "He asked if we need anything," I said. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing yet." She turned toward the window. "Tell him whatever you want." That was not permission. 38 years of marriage had taught me that much. I wrote, "We're managing?" Evan replied with another thumbs up. The next afternoon, he arrived without calling. I was in the kitchen trying to turn a sleeve of crackers into crumbs with a rolling pin when I heard the front door open. "Dad, you still have a key?" He came into the kitchen carrying another vase of flowers. "I've always had a key." "I know. I was asking if you still had it." He glanced at the rolling pin. "What are you doing?" "Crushing crackers. It looks personal. It's for chicken." "Didn't you just make chicken?" "I burned that chicken." He smiled as if we were already back to normal. "How's Mom?" "Upstairs." He started toward the stairs, then turned and held out the vase. "These are for her. Flowers aren't banned here," I figured. "Did Claire pick these out too?" His smile thinned. "Actually, yes. She sends her love." I set the vase on the counter without taking off the plastic. Evan looked clean and rested. He wore a gray quarter zip Ruth had bought him the previous Christmas. For one disloyal second, I was relieved to see him. I wanted him to tell a joke, eat my ruined cracker chicken, and sit beside his mother as if I had never needed to ask. He reached the bedroom before me. Ruth was propped against 2 pillows, her glasses on, the medication chart across her lap. Evan opened his arms. There she is. She did not lift hers. He lowered them and leaned down to kiss her forehead. "Careful," she said. He stepped back. "Sorry. Dad said you were doing better." "I am. Good. You look a lot better." "Then what?" He gave a small laugh. Ruth looked at him. The laugh died. Evan pulled the chair closer to the bed and sat. "I would have come yesterday, but Dad said you were managing. He asked you to come before that." Evan glanced at me. I could have stepped in. I had stepped in so many times that the words were already forming. "She's tired. This isn't the time." He didn't mean it that way. Ruth folded her hands over the discharge papers. "I heard you laugh," she said. Evan blinked once, slowly, as if the words needed time to come into focus. "What?" "I heard you laugh at your father." He looked at the phone on her nightstand, though it was not the phone I had used. "You had me on speaker?" "I had you on speaker," I said. "Why?" My hands were full. "That's not an answer. It's exactly the answer." "You didn't tell me Mom could hear. I thought she was asleep." Evan stood up. The chair legs scraped across the floor. "So, I'm being ambushed over a private conversation I didn't know she was listening to." Ruth said, "I was 6 feet from the phone, Evan. You weren't being wiretapped. I didn't say I was. You used the word ambushed. Because I walked in here thinking I was visiting my mother, and apparently I'm on trial. You are visiting your mother. Sit down." It was the old tone, the one Ruth used when Evan was trying to talk his way around something. He sat, but only on the front edge of the chair. "I was at a work thing," he said. It was loud. Dad called out of nowhere, sounding like the building was on fire because he wanted to take a shower. I asked if you could sit with her. "I know what you asked," then stopped changing it. Evan looked at me as if I had broken an agreement. Maybe I had. Our agreement had never been spoken, but it was simple. He could be careless, and I would make his carelessness sound temporary. "You said she was scared," he told me. "Then you said she was asleep. Which was it? Both at different times." "Okay, well, I didn't understand that. You didn't ask?" He turned back to Ruth. "I'm sorry you heard it." She waited. "That's not the same thing as being sorry you said it," I said. "I'm trying to talk to Mom. I'm still here." "Yes, Dad, you're always still here." The room tightened. Evan rubbed both hands over his face. I laughed because the situation felt ridiculous. Not Mom being sick. Dad asking me to drive 40 minutes so he could leave a staffed hospital. He does this thing where he makes a basic request sound like a moral emergency, and if you say no, you feel like you've failed some test. I searched Ruth's face. She was listening, not forgiving. "You could have said no without making fun of him," she said. "I thought we were joking." Was he laughing? Evan's mouth shifted. "I wasn't," I said. "I know that now. You knew it then." He stood again and walked to the window. Outside, our maple tree moved in a wind I hadn't noticed. Evan put his hands in his pockets. "I don't do hospitals well," he said. The anger left his voice so abruptly that I almost trusted what replaced it. Ruth watched the back of his head. "Nobody does. You know what I mean?" I did. When Evan was 23, my father had spent 3 weeks in a hospital room that smelled like disinfectant and overheated plastic. Evan visited once. After my father died, Evan told Ruth he could still hear the oxygen machine shutting off. We had never asked him to return to a hospital until this week. "You came to see me," Ruth said, "for 11 minutes apparently." She did not apologize for counting. He turned around. His eyes were red, though that might have been anger. "I walked in there and saw all those tubes and you looked—" He stopped. I didn't know what to do. Dad looked like he had it under control, so I left. "I didn't have it under control. You looked like you did. That's not the same thing. It is when you're the person watching." For a few seconds, none of us spoke. Evan had said something true. I could feel my instinct reaching for it, ready to stretch that one truth over everything else like a blanket. Ruth saw me do it. "Being afraid explains why you didn't come," she said. "It doesn't explain why my fear was funny. I didn't laugh at your fear. You laughed directly after your father described it. I was embarrassed. People were listening, so you made him smaller." Evan's face hardened again. "He's not small, Mom." "No. He only becomes small when he asks you for something. That's not fair." "You're right," she said. "It isn't." He stared at her. It took him a moment to understand that she was agreeing with herself, not him. Evan picked up the vase from the dresser. "Claire bought these for you." "Then thank Claire. Do you want them or not? I want to be able to smell them without having this conversation attached." He set the vase down too hard. Water jumped over the rim and spotted the dresser. I reached for a towel. "Leave it," Ruth said. "It'll stain. Then it stains." Evan looked at both of us. "What exactly do you want me to say?" The question came out angry, but underneath it I heard something younger and more familiar. Evan had always wanted the correct words. Not because he was dishonest in every moment, but because correct words had gotten him through most doors. "I don't want to write your apology for you," Ruth said. "I did apologize. You apologized that I heard you, because that's what hurt you." "No. What hurt me is that you meant to speak that way, as long as I wasn't listening." He glanced at me again. "And Dad didn't say anything terrible on that call? I asked you for help. You apologized like I'd forced you to." "I shouldn't have." "Right, because now we've decided that's my fault too." I folded the towel over the water spot and pressed down. "No one said everything is your fault." "Could have fooled me." He moved toward the door. Ruth said his name. He stopped without turning. "I love you," she said. His shoulders lowered by a fraction. "But I am not going to use that sentence to erase the ones that came before it." He stood there long enough that I thought he might answer. Then he went downstairs. The front door closed with care. That was worse than a slam. A slam would have given us something easy to criticize. I carried the flowers to the bathroom and poured out enough water to keep the vase from spilling. When I returned, Ruth was staring at the doorway. "You okay?" I asked. "No." "Do you need pain medicine?" "I need my son not to be that person." I set the flowers on the far side of the dresser. "He was scared," I said. She looked at me. "I'm not excusing him. You put the excuse in the room and then announce you're not using it. I'm trying to understand him. You always understand him. That's what fathers are supposed to do." "No, Hal. That's what defense attorneys are supposed to do." I nearly laughed. I could tell from her face that laughing would be unwise. Instead, I picked up the medication chart. "You're due for the antibiotic." "I know. I'll get it." "The pharmacy bag is in the bathroom." "I know where it is." "Yesterday you thought it was downstairs." "That was yesterday." She looked at the damp spot on the dresser. "I didn't plan that," she said. "The water, the conversation." "I know. I thought I would wait until I was stronger." "You were strong enough. That's not what I mean." I handed her the pill and water. She swallowed, then leaned back and closed her eyes. "I don't feel better," she said. "Maybe it takes time." I meant after saying it. I sat on the edge of the chair. Maybe that takes time too. The cracker chicken was worse than the burned chicken. I had followed the recipe Ruth dictated from bed, but I had used saltines instead of buttery crackers because I didn't understand that the kind of cracker mattered. The coating came off in pale slabs and lay beside the chicken like damaged ceiling tile. Ruth took one bite. "Be honest," I said. "I am recovering from abdominal surgery. That bad?" "I'm establishing context." I ate 2 servings to prove a point neither of us could identify. That night, I set alarms for every medication. The first alarm woke Ruth. The second woke me in the hallway because I had fallen asleep sitting against the wall outside the bathroom while she washed her face. By the third, we were both irritated enough to discuss whether an alarm could be passive-aggressive. The next morning, Ruth insisted on bathing. "You can't get into the tub," I said. "I'm aware of the geography. The instructions say sponge bath." "I don't want you giving me one. I don't want to give you one either. That makes me feel much better." We stood in the bathroom facing each other. Ruth wore a robe and held a washcloth, like she planned to defend herself with it. "I can do it," she said. "What if you get dizzy? You can stand outside. What am I supposed to do from outside?" "Listen for a crash. That's a poor system. It's the system I'm offering." She shut the door most of the way. I stood in the hall and listened to water run into the sink. After a few minutes, she said, "Hal." I pushed the door open so quickly it struck the wall. Ruth was sitting on the closed toilet lid, breathing hard. The front of her hair was wet. Her robe was tied, but one shoulder had slipped down. "I'm fine," she said. "You called me. I can't reach the back." "The back of what?" "My hair." She held out the washcloth. I understood then. She wanted me to wash her. I filled the basin with warm water. She leaned forward while I stood behind her, trying not to pull. I had washed car parts, paintbrushes, dogs, deck boards, and once an entire basement floor after the sump pump failed. None of that prepared me for the weight of my wife's wet hair in my hands. "Too hot?" I asked. "No." "Too cold?" "No." "Am I pulling?" "Yes." "Sorry, you don't have to apologize every 3 seconds. Dana says I don't apologize enough. Dana isn't here with shampoo in her eyes." I worked more slowly. Ruth closed her eyes as I rinsed the soap out. There was a place along the back of her neck where the hair had tangled from a week against hospital pillows. I tried to separate it with my fingers. "That hurts," she said. "I know." "No, I'm telling you, because I need you to stop." I stopped. She took a breath. "Sorry," I said. This time she didn't object. The doorbell rang just after noon. Claire stood on the porch holding a red Dutch oven with both hands. She was 34, small, direct, and usually so neatly dressed that even her casual clothes appeared to have appointments. That day, her hair was pulled into a loose knot, and there was flour on one sleeve. "I made soup," she said. "Evan said Ruth could eat soft food. That's thoughtful. He wanted to bring it himself, but I told him maybe he should give her a day." She watched my face. "He told you what happened?" "He said there was some confusion over a call." That's one way to say it. Claire passed me the pot. "This is heavier than it looks." So was the conversation. She almost smiled. I carried the soup into the kitchen. Claire followed and began clearing a space on the counter without asking. She saw the cracker chicken in the trash. "You cooked?" I attempted to. "Evan said you were getting pretty good at handling things." I set the pot down. He said that? He was worried about you Thursday night. He told me he stayed at the hospital until after midnight because you were exhausted. The kitchen seemed to become very quiet. Claire opened a cabinet, looking for bowls. He said what? I asked. She turned around. Before I could answer her expression, Ruth's voice came from the doorway behind us. Which Thursday night was that? Claire kept one hand on the cabinet door. Ruth stood at the kitchen entrance, gripping the frame. She had come down the stairs alone. Her robe was tied crookedly, and her damp hair lay against her neck. I moved toward her. Don't, she said. You shouldn't be down here. I heard voices. You could have called me, so you could decide what I was allowed to hear. Claire closed the cabinet. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean to walk into something. You brought soup, Ruth said. That gets you pretty far in this house right now. Claire tried to smile, but she was still watching both of us. What did Evan tell you? Ruth asked. That he stayed with you Thursday night. Was that why he missed your dinner? Claire's eyebrows drew together. It wasn't a dinner. It was a retirement thing for one of the partners at my firm. He was supposed to go with you? Yes. I pulled a chair out for Ruth. She let me guide her to it, but slapped my hand away when I tried to push it closer to the table. He said Dad needed him, Claire continued. I was annoyed at first, but then he told me you'd had complications and Hal had been here for days. I thought... She looked at Ruth. I thought it was good of him. Ruth rested both palms on the table. He visited me once, she said. In the afternoon. He stayed 11 minutes. Claire looked at me as if I might correct the number. I didn't. Thursday night he was at a bar, Ruth said. His father called and asked him to sit with me for 2 hours. Evan said no. Claire's face did not collapse. That would have been easier to watch. It became composed. What bar? I don't know, I said. You heard it? He was on speaker. And he said he was with friends? He said it was a work thing, I said. There was music. Ruth looked at me. He told me people were listening. Claire nodded once. I had seen her do that at Thanksgiving, when someone said something she intended to remember. He came home at 1, she said. He took a shower, because he said the hospital smell was bothering him. Ruth closed her eyes. Claire, I said, I don't know why he told you that. I do. Her voice stayed level, which made me lower mine. He probably didn't want you angry that he'd missed your event. So, he chose a lie I wasn't allowed to be angry about. I'm not defending him. Ruth made a quiet sound that might have been a sigh. Claire heard it. Do you always say that right before you defend him? She asked. The question was not disrespectful. That made it worse. I'm trying not to make this bigger before you talk to him. He already made it the size it is. She took out her phone. For a moment, I thought she would call him from our kitchen. Instead, she checked the screen and put it back into her purse. Ruth reached across the table. I'm sorry. Claire looked at her hand but did not take it. You have nothing to apologize for. I'm sorry you found out here. I'm glad I found out somewhere. That doesn't make it easier. No. Claire picked up the lid for the Dutch oven, though it was already covered. She turned it in her hands, searching for a useful task. Was he cruel to you? She asked. Ruth did not answer immediately. He laughed, she said. That was enough. Claire's jaw tightened. She put the lid down. I should go. You don't have to, I said. I do. The soup, keep it. It freezes. She hugged Ruth carefully. Ruth held on longer than Claire expected. I could tell because Claire's body went stiff before it softened. At the door, she turned to me. He's going to say, I misunderstood you. I'll tell him you didn't. He'll say you misunderstood him. I'll tell him I didn't. Claire studied me, deciding whether those promises had weight. Thank you, she said. She did not sound grateful. The call came 9 minutes after she drove away. I was ladling soup into a bowl while Ruth sat at the table. My phone vibrated across the counter hard enough to tap the toaster. Evan. Ruth looked at the screen. You don't have to answer, she said. That would be childish. No, throwing the phone into the yard would be childish. Not answering could be restful. I picked it up and went into the living room. What the hell did you tell Claire? His voice was loud enough that speakerphone was unnecessary. The truth? Which version? There's only one version of where you were Thursday night. I told her I checked on you. You told her you stayed at the hospital. I said I was dealing with the hospital. She remembers it differently. So, you automatically believe her? I looked toward the kitchen. Ruth had not touched her soup. This isn't about believing anybody, I said. You weren't there. You have no idea what I told her. Did you tell her you stayed with your mother until after midnight? Silence. Dad, I was trying to keep two situations from blowing up. You did a poor job. I had a required work event that night. Claire wanted me at her thing. Then you called acting like Mom was falling apart. What was I supposed to say? The truth comes to mind. I was going to tell her. When? After Mom was better, after everybody calmed down. That's not a date. He exhaled hard into the phone. She packed a bag. I sat on the arm of the couch. What? She's going to her sister's. She says she needs space. I'm sorry. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Then call her. I look back toward the kitchen. And say what? Say there was confusion. Say you were exhausted and you don't remember exactly what I said. I remember. Dad. I'm not telling her I don't. You don't have to lie. Just tell her I was worried about both of you and the whole week was chaotic. You weren't worried enough to come. That again? It happened 2 days ago. And now you're wrecking my marriage over it. The old response rose so quickly that it was nearly out before I caught it. I was going to tell him no one was wrecking his marriage. I was going to promise Claire would cool off, that couples fought, that he needed to give her time. Then I saw Ruth in the kitchen, lifting the spoon with a trembling hand because I was not there to steady the bowl. I'm not calling Claire, I said. You owe me this. I almost asked for what. Instead, I said, no. There was another silence, different from the first. Evan had heard me refuse favors before. I had refused airport runs when I had appointments. I had refused to lend him tools I knew he would leave in the rain. But those refusals always came with alternatives, apologies, or a later offer bigger than the original request. This no stood alone. You're enjoying this? He said. No. Mom finally gets angry at somebody besides you, and suddenly you're the honest one. That isn't fair. Ask her. Ask her how many times she's complained that you don't listen, that you make decisions without her, that she has to keep track of every damn thing in your life. But I repeat one piece of that, and now I'm evil. You didn't repeat it to help her. You don't know why I said it. You laughed when you said it. Because it was true. My hand tightened around the phone. From the kitchen, a spoon struck the floor. I ended the call. Ruth was bending toward the dropped spoon when I reached her. Leave it, I said. I can pick up a spoon. You're not supposed to bend. I'm not made of glass. No, you're made of something that just had stitches put through it. I picked up the spoon and set it in the sink. Her soup sat untouched except for one sip. You heard? I asked. Most of it. He wanted me to lie to Claire, I assumed. He said you complain about me. Ruth looked at the soup. Do you? Yes. The answer landed cleanly. I sat across from her. To him? Sometimes. What do you say? Things I should have said to you. I leaned back. Did you tell him you keep track of everything? I told him I was tired. Did you tell him I don't listen? Would you have listened? That's not an answer. No, she said. It's the reason. We sat in the smell of Claire's soup, which was full of rosemary and chicken and vegetables cut into careful, even pieces. Maybe he thought he was defending you, I said. Maybe part of him was. That surprised me. Ruth rubbed her thumb along the table edge. Evan listens when I'm unhappy with you. He's always listened. Then he turns my unhappiness into proof that he doesn't have to respect you. I let him. Why? Because you didn't listen, and he did. The honesty was so plain that I had nowhere to put it. You're saying I caused this? No. I am saying we built a house with a crooked floor, and now we're shocked the furniture slides. You have a strange way of making things comforting. I'm in pain. I know. Do you? I looked at the medication chart. You're due in 20 minutes. That's not what I meant. I know that too. She finally ate 3 spoonfuls of soup. Dana arrived the following morning with 2 canvas bags and a pillow tucked under her arm. I said you didn't need to come, Ruth told her from the couch. You also said you didn't need surgery until you did. That's an unfair use of recent history. I brought coffee. You may stay. Dana set the bags down and looked around the living room. I had moved an end table to make room for Ruth's rolling frame, put a dining chair beside the couch, and arranged the medications on a tray. It looked organized until you noticed the extension cord stretched across the walking path. Dana noticed. She unplugged it and moved the lamp. I was going to do that, I said. Then we share a vision. Her phone buzzed. She checked it, frowned, and put it away. Evan? Ruth asked. He wants to know what you told me. What did you say? That I'd ask you. Ruth looked at me, then at Dana. I heard him laugh at your father when he asked for help. Dana waited for the rest. When it did not come, she sat on the coffee table facing her mother. Tell me exactly what happened. I started to speak. Ruth said, "Let me." So I closed my mouth and listened, while my wife told our daughter the story I had already begun trying to soften. Dana did not interrupt once. That was how I knew she was angry. Normally, she corrected details as they occurred. She would ask what time, which nurse, whether I had actually used the word frightened or added it later. Instead, she sat with her elbows on her knees while Ruth repeated the call almost word for word. When Ruth finished, Dana looked at me. Why did you apologize to him? That's what your mother asked. I'm asking too. I don't know. Yes, you do. I wanted to end the call. You could have hung up. I didn't want him angry. Dana leaned back. There it is. Oh, don't do that. Do what? Act like you've solved me. I haven't solved you. I found one piece sitting on top of the box. Ruth touched Dana's wrist. Your father didn't make Evan laugh. I know. He didn't make me protect Evan either. I know that too. The speed of Dana's answer bothered me. There was too much history inside it. You don't seem surprised, I said. She looked at the rug. Evan called me yesterday, before you came. He said Mom was emotional from the medication and you were using it as an excuse to turn her against him. Ruth's fingers left Dana's wrist. He said that? He said you'd been waiting years for a chance to prove he was selfish. I have never said that. I told him I'd talk to both of you. And now? Dana looked toward Ruth. Now I think he laughed. I didn't ask whether you believed that part, I said. I know. She stood and picked up the medication tray. These need to be somewhere you can reach without leaning. I can reach them. You can. Mom can't. She isn't supposed to take them without me. Ruth said, I'm in the room. Dana carried the tray to the coffee table. Good. Then both of you can disagree with me at full volume. For the next hour, she made herself useful in a way that felt like criticism, even when it wasn't. She washed the Dutch oven, swept cracker crumbs from beneath the kitchen table, and wrote the medication schedule on a fresh sheet of paper in handwriting larger than mine. I followed her around, correcting things she had not done wrong. The blue towel is for dishes. I'm using it for dishes. That pan doesn't go there. It came from there. The lid goes upside down. It will survive the night. Finally, Dana turned from the cabinet. Do you want help, or do you want an employee? I didn't ask you to reorganize everything. I moved one lamp. And the medications. So Mom can reach them. She doesn't need to reach them. I'm handling it. Dana's face softened, which made me feel more foolish than anger would have. I know you are, she said. I looked past her into the living room. Ruth was asleep on the couch, one hand tucked beneath her cheek. I almost gave her the wrong pill. But you caught it. What if I hadn't? Then you would have called the discharge number, explained what happened, and followed their instructions. You don't know that. I know you can read a label, Dad. That's a ringing endorsement. It's day 2, day 3, even better. She put the pan lid upside down. After lunch, Dana drove me to the pharmacy because my truck was blocking her car, and according to her, moving one vehicle made less sense than moving 2. I suspected she just wanted to get me out of the house. At a red light, she said, I'm not staying all week. I didn't ask you to. I know. You can go now if you need to. I'm staying tonight. That's fine. I'm not asking permission. Then why are we talking about it? Because this is where you usually say, I'm reliable, then give me 6 things nobody asked Evan to do. The light changed. I drove half a block before realizing the car behind us was honking. What's 6 things? It's an expression. That's a poor expression if you don't have examples. Dana looked out the window. When I call, you tell me what's going on. When Evan calls, you tell him not to worry. That's not true. It is. He came to the hospital. For 11 minutes. Your mother shouldn't have started counting. Why not? Because it turns a visit into a timesheet. Maybe 11 minutes felt like a visit to him and a timesheet to her. I pulled into the pharmacy lot too fast. A man returning a cart gave me a look. Dana waited until I parked. You know what the difference is? She asked. When you tell me there's a problem, I'm expected to help. When you tell Evan, he's expected to feel bad. That's unfair to both of you. Yes. She opened her door. Inside the pharmacy, we stood beneath lights that made everyone look slightly ill. While we waited, Dana picked up a bottle of expensive shampoo and read the back. Your mother needs something gentle, I said. This is gentle, how can you tell? It says gentle. Marketing people can write anything. Then pick one. I read 6 bottles. Dana watched me put each back. You used to do this with cereal, she said. What? Mom would ask you to buy one thing, and you'd call her from the aisle because there were too many versions. There shouldn't be 12 kinds of Bran. You'd come home with the wrong one anyway. That's because she changed brands without telling me. Dana smiled despite herself. I chose a shampoo with no scent and a pump top. On the way home, I said, I'm sorry. She kept looking out the passenger window. For the shampoo? For treating you like the easy one. Her eyes closed briefly. You don't have to answer, I said. I know. I should have asked what you needed. Yes. I thought respecting your independence was, don't. What? Don't turn the apology into proof you had good intentions. I tightened my hands on the wheel. That doesn't leave me much to say. You could stop after sorry. So I did. When we got home, Ruth was awake and irritated because she had needed the bathroom and refused to call the neighbor whose number I had left beside her. I don't want Ron Pritchard helping me to the toilet, she said. He wouldn't have had to go in with you. He would have known where I was going. Ron knows what bathrooms are for. Dana carried the pharmacy bag upstairs so Ruth could wash her hair properly at the sink. I stood in the doorway until Dana asked whether I planned to supervise. I did it yesterday. Then you know Mom doesn't need an audience? Ruth met my eyes in the mirror. Go make coffee. I made coffee. My phone rang while it brewed. Evan's name appeared again. I considered letting it ring. Then I remembered the way he had said, Claire packed a bag, and my thumb moved. What? Nice greeting. I'm making coffee. It's 3 p.m. I was up all night. Evan was quiet for a moment. How's Mom? Dana's helping her wash her hair. Dana's there? Yes. So, I'm the only one not invited. No one invited Dana. Exactly. I turned off the coffee maker before it finished dripping. What do you need? Why do I have to need something? Do you? Another pause. Are you still coming Saturday? I had forgotten. Before Ruth's surgery, I had promised to help Evan install storage cabinets in his garage. He and Claire had bought them months ago. The boxes were stacked against the wall, and Claire wanted the garage cleared before winter. I can't leave your mother that long. Dana's there. Until tomorrow. It'll take 2 hours. It will not take 2 hours. Fine. 3. You said 2 when we painted the guest room. That took 9. That wall drank paint. Walls don't drink. That one did. I heard him almost laugh, and for a second we were ourselves again. Then he said, Claire's coming home Sunday to get more clothes. I want the cabinets up before she sees the garage. Why? Because I told her we'd finish them. We? You said you'd help. Before your mother went into the hospital. I'm not blaming her. It sounds close. I just want Claire to see I can follow through on something. I leaned against the counter, then follow through. I need another set of hands. Ask a friend. I don't want my friends involved in this. In cabinets, in everything. I watch coffee leak slowly through the paused filter and collect on the warming plate. I can't come Saturday. You mean you won't? I mean, I'm staying with your mother. Because she needs you, or because you want me to know she needs you? The question caught me in a place I hadn't guarded. You should go, Ruth said from behind me. She stood at the kitchen entrance again, this time with Dana beside her. Her hair was clean and combed. She looked tired, but steadier. Evan had heard her. Mom? If you want to help him with the cabinets, go. I don't. That's not what I said. Evan said, I'm sorry about the call. Ruth's expression did not change. Are you? She asked. Yes. Then why are you asking your father for help before you've asked what he needs? I asked how you were. You asked after you found out Dana was here. That's not fair. Ruth took the phone from my hand. No, she said. It isn't. Then she ended the call. Dana looked from the phone to her mother. Do you want me to stay Saturday? No, Ruth and I said together. Dana held up both hands. Ruth gave the phone back to me. If you go, go because you choose to. Don't stay here and turn me into the reason you said no. I'm not going. Good. You don't sound pleased. I'm waiting to see if you mean it. I put the phone on the counter. That evening, Dana cooked pasta while I helped Ruth upstairs. After she fell asleep, I went down to lock the doors. A photograph from Evan waited on my phone. His garage floor was covered with cabinet panels, screws, rails, and cardboard. In the center of the mess sat the drill I had lent him in March. Under the picture, he had written, "Never mind, I'll figure it out." I stared at those words longer than the photograph deserved. Then I went to the hall closet, found my old cordless drill, and set it beside my truck keys. I left the drill there all night. Every time I passed the closet, I saw the black case beside my keys. It looked less like a decision than evidence of one. Dana found it in the morning. "What's this doing here? It lives there. The keys live there. The drill lives in the basement. Since when do you inventory my tools? Since one appeared next to your escape vehicle?" I reached past her and put the drill on the closet shelf. Satisfied? No, but now it's less obvious. She carried her bags to the car after breakfast. Ruth sat on the couch in a blue robe, looking annoyed by the blanket Dana kept tucking around her legs. "You have the discharge number," Dana said. "It's on the refrigerator," I told her. "I was talking to Mom." "I have it," Ruth said. "And the medications?" "Your father has made a chart large enough to guide aircraft. The writing needed to be clear." Dana kissed Ruth, then hugged me with one arm because she was still holding her pillow. "Call if you need something," she said. "I thought I wasn't supposed to treat you like the reliable one." "You're not. You're supposed to tell me what's happening and let me decide. That sounds suspiciously reliable. Work on it." After she drove away, the house became quiet in a different way than it had before she came. Dana had left a clean kitchen, folded towels, and the faint sense that we were being observed even from 3 hours away. Ruth looked toward the closet. "Were you going to take the drill?" "No?" "Then why was it by your keys?" "I took it upstairs to check the battery. Our bedroom is not between the basement and the hall closet. I changed my mind about checking the battery, about bringing it to Evan." She nodded once. I waited for her to say more. She picked up the television remote. "I don't like this show. You chose it. I chose badly." She changed the channel. "You could tell me not to go," I said. "I did tell you not to make me responsible for your choice. That's different." "Yes. You know he needs help. He needs cabinets. He needs Claire to come home and see that he's made an effort. Then perhaps he should make one. He is. With your drill? With his hands. Those two, I hope." I sat on the other end of the couch. A man on television was trying to sell a couple a house with no kitchen doors. Ruth watched as if the cabinets of other people had become personally offensive. "He said he was sorry," I said. "He said the words. What else is he supposed to do?" "I don't know yet. That's convenient." Ruth turned off the television. "You want me to tell you exactly what he has to do so you can carry him through it. I want to know when this ends." "What ends?" "This punishment." "Whose?" I rubbed my forehead. She softened a little. "Hal, if I tell him to bring me flowers every Tuesday and he does it, will you believe he understands?" "No." "If I tell him to apologize to Claire and he repeats my words, will she trust him?" "No." "Then stop asking me for instructions." She needed her antibiotic. I got it without consulting the chart, which felt like a victory too small to mention. The next day I left the drill in the closet. I made oatmeal. Ruth called adequate. I helped her walk to the mailbox and back. She rested on the porch while I brought out 2 chairs, though she insisted she did not need one until she sat in it. A sedan slowed near the house. For a moment, I thought it might be Evan. It continued past us. Ruth had seen me look. "You can miss him and still be angry." "I'm not angry. You alphabetized the spice rack. It needed it. The salt is under S now. That's where S goes. Most people put it near the stove. Most people have surrendered to disorder." She smiled. I did too. That evening, Evan sent no message. Claire called Ruth, but not me. They spoke for 20 minutes in the bedroom with the door closed. When I asked how Claire was, Ruth said, "Sad. Is she coming home Sunday?" I didn't ask. Why not? Because she called to ask how I was. I heard the correction and let it pass. On Saturday morning, the drill battery was fully charged. I made scrambled eggs, set out Ruth's pills, and filled the blue water bottle Dana had bought her. Ruth ate half an egg and said she wanted to sleep. "You should go upstairs," I said. "I can sleep here. The couch is bad for your back. The bed is bad for my marriage." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm tired of looking at you every time I wake up." She smiled enough to show it was partly a joke. I arranged the blanket over her feet. "I need to run to the hardware store." Her eyes stayed closed. "For what?" "Furnace filters. We have 2 in the basement. They're the wrong size. You bought them. That's how I know they're wrong. She opened her eyes. The silence lasted just long enough for me to understand that she knew. "I'll be 45 minutes," I said. "Will you?" "Yes." "Then I suppose you'd better hurry." I took the drill from the closet. Evan's garage door was open when I arrived. The cabinet pieces still covered the floor, but he had arranged them into piles. One metal box hung crookedly on the wall. He came out of the house wearing an old college sweatshirt and safety glasses pushed on top of his head. "You came. I have 45 minutes. He looked at the drill. "You brought backup?" "You never charge yours." "The battery's bad. The battery's fine. You leave it in the cold." He smiled, and I hated the relief I felt. The garage smelled like sawdust and coffee. Claire's car was gone. Her side had always been cleaner than his, but now her gardening gloves and windshield scraper had been stacked inside a cardboard box marked C. I looked away. "I got one up," Evan said. "It's not level, I know." "Then why did you tighten it?" "I wanted it to stay up long enough for you to see it." I loosened the screws. Working beside him was easy in the way familiar mistakes are easy. I measured, Evan marked, I corrected his marks. He held the cabinet while I drove the fasteners into the studs. We could have done it without talking at all. After the second cabinet was up, he said, "Claire won't answer me. Give her time. That's what everyone says when they're not the one waiting. She has reason to be angry, I know." It was the first time he had said that without attaching a reason she should not be. I checked my watch. 52 minutes. I have to go. One more. I told Ruth 45. "You told her you were coming here?" I picked up the level. His expression changed. "You didn't." "I didn't say where. That's not like you." "Apparently it is." He leaned against the workbench. "You didn't have to come." "Yes, I did." "No, you didn't." The words irritated me because they were true. Evan pushed his safety glasses down over his eyes. "But since you're here, the last rail is already measured. One rail, then go." I stayed. The last rail became 2 cabinets because once the rail was level, leaving the boxes on the floor made no sense. One of the doors had been drilled incorrectly at the factory. Evan wanted to force the hinge. I showed him how to re-drill it. My medication alarm sounded from the phone in my coat pocket. Evan looked over. "Mom?" I turned it off. "She's not due for another hour. You should go." "I am? You don't have to sound mad at me." "I'm not mad at you. You're always mad at me lately." I closed the drill case. "Your mother thinks anger is the only thing I'm not good at showing." "She's wrong." He took off the safety glasses. "Dad, I am sorry." I waited. He looked toward the box marked C. Not just because she heard. I shouldn't have laughed. The apology I had wanted suddenly felt too light to carry everything we had stacked on it. "Tell her," I said. I tried. "No." "You said the words during an argument because you wanted the argument to end. Isn't that how everybody apologizes in this family?" He meant it as a joke. Neither of us laughed. I left 2 hours and 26 minutes after arriving. My phone showed one missed call from Ruth. I called back while pulling out of Evan's driveway. No answer. I drove faster than I should have. The blue water bottle lay on its side in the living room. The medication tray was open. One pill rested on the carpet. Ruth? I heard something move in the kitchen. She was sitting on the floor beside the sink, one shoulder against a cabinet. A drinking glass had broken near her bare feet. Water spread through the pieces. I dropped the drill case. "What happened?" "I wanted water. I filled your bottle. It rolled under the coffee table. You should have called." "I did." I moved toward her. "Stop," she said. "There's glass." I stepped around it and crouched. "Did you fall?" "I got dizzy. I sat down too fast." "Did you hit your head?" "No." "Your stitches?" "They're fine. Don't move." "I haven't been moving." "That's the problem." I lifted her carefully. She was lighter than I expected and angrier than I had ever held her. I carried her into the living room and lowered her onto the couch. I was gone longer than I thought. "Yes." "I'm sorry." "Yes." "Evan needed," Ruth laughed once. It was a small, exhausted sound, but it stopped me more completely than shouting would have. "He needed a cabinet," she said. "I needed water. That's not fair." "No, it isn't." She looked at the drill case lying where I had dropped it. "You keep calling it helping him," she said. "But it isn't generosity when everybody else has to pay for it." I wanted to argue with the sentence. Instead, I saw a thin red mark across the heel of Ruth's hand. You're cut. It's a scratch. From the glass? I don't know. I brought the first aid box from the bathroom and set it on the coffee table. My hands shook while I opened the little paper packet around an alcohol wipe. You don't need to perform surgery. Give me your hand. She gave it to me. The scratch was shallow. I cleaned it anyway, then checked her feet, her elbows, the back of her head. She endured me until I asked her to stand so I could inspect her incision. No. You could have pulled something. I didn't. How do you know? Because I am the person inside my body. I'm calling the discharge nurse. Call her. Do not describe me as unconscious in a pool of blood. I wouldn't. You told the mechanic my car was making a grinding noise when it was a squeak. It was becoming a grind. The nurse asked Ruth questions over speakerphone. Had she lost consciousness? No. Vomited? No. Was the pain near her incision worse? No. Could she move both arms and legs normally? Ruth lifted one foot and looked at me. Yes, I said. I can answer. Then answer. Yes, she told the nurse. I can move. The nurse told us what to watch for and said Ruth needed fluids, rest, and help when walking. She had help, I said. Ruth looked at the drill case. The nurse could not see that, but she heard the silence. Someone should stay close for the rest of the day, she said. I'll stay close, I said. After the call, I brought Ruth a fresh glass of water in a plastic cup. She drank half while I swept the kitchen. I found one shard beneath the cabinet, another by the refrigerator, and the missing pill under the lip of the couch. I cleaned the floor twice. Then I carried the drill to the basement and put it on the workbench. When I came back upstairs, Ruth had turned on the television without sound. I told him I had 45 minutes, I said. I know how long you told me. The cabinets took longer. Cabinets often become complicated when you lie about where you're going. I said, hardware store. That was the lie. You knew where I was going. Knowing you're lying doesn't make it honest. I sat in the chair beside the couch. You told me I could go. I told you to choose. I did, yes. The word was quiet, but it filled the room. I chose my son. You chose being useful to him. What's the difference? He loves you without it, or he doesn't. You make that sound simple. No. I make it sound frightening. I looked at the phone on the table. No new messages. He apologized, I said. Did he? He said he shouldn't have laughed. Ruth waited. I told him to tell you. Why didn't he call? I don't know. What happened after he apologized? We finished the cabinets. Her mouth tightened. He said Claire won't answer him. So you rewarded him. I helped him finish what he started. Did he finish it? He was there. So was the wall. I stood up. That's enough. What is? The way you make every single thing I do sound pathetic. I'm not trying to make you pathetic. You're doing a good job by accident. Ruth pushed the blanket off her legs. Where are you going? Upstairs. You need help. I'll go slowly. You almost fell. I did not almost fall. I got dizzy and sat down. On the floor beside broken glass. Because I was alone. I said, I'm sorry. And then you explained why it happened. I can't change it. No. But you can stop asking me to help you feel better about it. I stepped in front of the rolling frame. I'm not asking you to do that. You want me to say it wasn't a choice. You want me to blame Evan because he sent a sad photograph of some cabinets. But he didn't carry you out of this house. He knew I'd come. Of course he knew. We all did. That stopped me. Ruth gripped the handles of the frame and stood. I moved behind her as she crossed the room, close enough to catch her and far enough not to touch. At the bottom stair, she paused. We both taught him, she said. I taught him that I would explain whatever he did. You taught him that if he waited long enough, you would do whatever he didn't. I didn't force you to explain him. No, you complained about me to him. Yes. You let him use those complaints against me. Yes. Her agreement left no opening for the argument I had prepared. I'm trying to stop, she said. What are you doing? I looked down at the rolling frame between us, moving it so you can get upstairs. She closed her eyes. I know what you meant, I said. Do you? Yes. I moved the frame aside and offered my arm. She took it. Halfway up, she had to rest. We sat together on the step where we had joked about entertaining. This time, neither of us had anything funny to say. When she was settled in bed, I went outside and called Evan. He answered on the first ring. Did she like the cabinets? Your mother fell. What? She got dizzy trying to get water. I found her on the kitchen floor. Is she hurt? A scratch. The nurse says, watch her. Why was she alone? The question struck exactly where it should have. Because I left her. You said she was sleeping. She woke up. Dad, I told you to go. I know. No, I mean, at the garage, I said you should go home. I stayed. So, why are you calling me? Like this is my fault. I'm not. You use that voice. What voice? The one where every word has a period after it. I walked to the edge of the driveway. Across the street, Ron Pritchard was pulling weeds from a flower bed while wearing white socks with sandals. He raised one hand. I raised mine. This wasn't your fault, I said. Evan was silent. I came because I wanted to fix something for you. I lied to your mother because I knew I shouldn't. Then I stayed because leaving before the job was done felt worse than breaking my word to her. I didn't ask you to lie. No, I didn't ask you to stay longer. No. So, what are you saying? I'm saying I can't help with the rest of the garage. The rest is almost done. I can't do the shelves next weekend. I can't come over every time something is too heavy or crooked or taking longer than you thought. He let out a slow breath. For how long? I don't know. That sounds like punishment. It's not. You keep saying that about things designed to hurt me. I'm staying with your mother while she recovers. You've helped me when she was home before. That's part of the problem. He laughed once without humor. So Mom gets sick, and suddenly everything you ever did for me was unhealthy. Not everything. Name the healthy parts. I'm not doing that over the phone. Convenient. He had borrowed that word from me, or I had borrowed it from him. I couldn't remember which. Call your mother, I said. Tell her what you told me. Is she awake? Yes. Does she want to hear from me? I don't know. Ask her. I tried asking what she wanted. She said she wouldn't write my apology. Then don't ask her how to apologize. What if I say it wrong? You probably will. That's helpful. It's honest. He was quiet for a long time. Claire came by, he said. For clothes, she saw the cabinets. And, she asked, who helped? What did you say? The truth. I waited. I told her you came over, he said. She asked whether Mom was alone. I said she was sleeping. She was. She said that wasn't what she asked. I looked back at the house. What did you tell her? That Mom knew you were coming. I closed my eyes. She knew where I was going. That isn't the same as agreeing. I know that now. You knew it when you said it, probably. The admission surprised me more than denial would have. Claire started packing another bag, he said. I'm sorry. Are you? Yes. Then tell me what to do. I don't know. You always know. No, I usually do something before either of us has to find out. Ron's metal rake scraped across concrete. Evan's voice lowered. Did you come over because you wanted to help me, or because you can't stand Mom being angry with you? I looked at the front window. The curtains were open, but I couldn't see Ruth from where I stood. Both, I said. Evan breathed out. Call her, I told him. I will. He did not call that afternoon. Ruth slept for 3 hours. I sat beside the bed with the medication chart and watched the rise and fall of the blanket. Every so often I checked the time, though no pill was due. At 5, her eyes opened. You're staring, she said. I'm watching. It feels like staring from here. How do you feel? Like I slept with an audience. Dizzy? No. Nauseous? No. Pain? 5. Yesterday you called 6 of 5, then 4. I reached for the chart. Ruth touched my hand. Stop. You're due soon. I know. What do you need? The question came out awkwardly. I had asked versions of it all week, but they were usually offers with answers already attached. Do you need water? Do you need a pill? Do you need me to move that? Ruth looked at me to see whether I meant it. Sit with me until I fall asleep again, she said. All right, then go sleep in the other room, properly, not in the chair. What if you call? I have the phone. What if you need the bathroom? I will wake you. You promise? No, she said, but I'll try. I sat back. After a few minutes, she asked, Did you call Evan? Yes. Did you blame him? I tried not to. That wasn't my question. No. I told him it was my fault. Her eyes opened again. Was that true? Yes. She studied me, then closed them. He said he was sorry, I added. To you? He said he shouldn't have laughed. Did he ask how I was? Yes. That answer was generous enough without being false. Ruth's breathing deepened. I stayed until I was sure she was asleep, then carried the medication chart into the hall and stopped. For the first time in a week, I did not set an alarm for something I had already been asked not to control. I went to the guest room, closed the door, and slept. I woke to the smell of coffee and panic. The clock beside the guest bed said 9:17. I had slept nearly 11 hours. I came out of the room with my shirt half buttoned and found Ruth at the kitchen table. Her rolling frame was parked beside her. A mug sat between both hands. "What happened?" "Good morning to you too. Why didn't you wake me?" "I did. At 2. I don't remember." "You walked me to the bathroom." "I did?" "You asked if I had my driver's license." I pulled out the chair across from her. "Why?" "I don't know. I told you it was in my purse and you said that was acceptable. You should have made sure I was awake. You were operating at the level I required." I looked at the coffee maker. "Did you make that?" "Yes." "You came down alone?" "No. I called you at 8:30. You helped me down and went back to bed." I remembered none of it. Ruth took a sip. "You also told the handrail it was doing a good job." I was tired. I thought it deserved encouragement. She had filled my mug and left it beside the machine. The coffee was weaker than I liked because she had measured it according to the directions instead of instinct. I drank it anyway. The days became easier in small, untrustworthy increments. Ruth stopped using the rolling frame upstairs, then carried it more often than she leaned on it downstairs. She could wash her own hair if I set the shampoo within reach. I learned which pills needed food, how to heat Claire's soup without scorching the bottom, and that Ruth liked her oatmeal thin enough to run from the spoon. I also learned that improvement made her more dangerous. When she felt terrible, she asked for help because she had no choice. When she felt merely bad, she tried to do laundry. I found her pulling damp towels from the washing machine. "What are you doing?" "Stealing a car. Those weigh too much. They're towels. Wet towels weigh more. Thank God you're here." I took the basket from her. She watched me carry it upstairs. "The blue ones don't go in the dryer. You use them after a bath. They're bamboo. They're towels. Heat ruins them. You used hot water. Water and air are different elements, Hal." I hung the blue towels over the shower rod. By the end of that week, Ruth's medication chart had fewer rows. I knew the schedule without checking, but I still checked. She stopped objecting. Evan did not visit. He sent Ruth 2 messages. The first said he loved her. The second asked if she was doing okay. She answered the second with, "Improving." She did not answer the first. I pretended not to notice. On Friday evening, the house phone rang. Almost nobody called that number anymore, except dentists and people trying to sell us new windows. Ruth answered from the couch. "Hello?" She listened, then sat straighter. "Hello, Evan." I was in the kitchen peeling potatoes. I turned on the faucet so she would not think I was listening. Then I turned it off because running water did not stop ears from working. Ruth said, "I'm feeling better." A long pause. "Yes, I heard you when you said that before." Another pause. "No, I didn't say it didn't count." I peeled the same strip of potato twice. Ruth looked toward the kitchen. I looked down. "What are you sorry for?" she asked. Whatever Evan said took a while. Ruth's face changed. The hardness around her mouth loosened, though it did not disappear. "Thank you," she said. "That is different." I stopped peeling. Then she said, "No. I'm not calling Claire." The softness vanished. "Because your apology to me cannot be a coupon you redeem with your wife." I set the peeler down. Ruth listened for another minute. "I understand that you're afraid," she said. "I was afraid too." Her voice became quieter. "That is exactly what you need to think about." She hung up without saying goodbye. I waited until she placed the receiver on the table. "How did it go?" "You were standing 6 feet away. The faucet was on. For 4 seconds." I brought the bowl of potatoes into the living room and sat beside her. "What did he say?" "He said he was sorry he laughed, not that I heard him." "That he laughed, that's something." "Yes." "He said he was scared. He said when you asked him to come, he felt like everyone was about to find out he didn't know what to do." "Who's everyone?" "His friends. You, himself, probably." I turned a potato in my hands. "He could have come anyway." "Yes." "He still asked you to call Claire." "Yes." "So the apology was for that. Maybe part of it." "You sound like me." Ruth took the potato away before I dug my thumb through it. "People can do one honest thing for 3 dishonest reasons," she said. That doesn't make the honest part disappear. It doesn't make the reasons disappear either. No? She handed the potato back. Evan came the following afternoon, carrying groceries. He did not use his key. He rang the bell and waited. When I opened the door, he held up 2 paper bags. Peace offering. To whom? Whichever one of you is less angry. That changes hourly. I bought pudding. Your mother doesn't like pudding. She likes chocolate. She likes chocolate. That doesn't mean she likes everything chocolate has been put into. Evan looked into the bag. Claire said, pudding. The mention of her name removed some of the air from him. I took 1 bag. He followed me inside and stopped when he saw Ruth coming from the hallway without the frame. Look at you. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not. You've always had a surprised voice. He bent to hug her, then stopped before touching. Can I? Ruth nodded. He hugged her carefully. She put 1 hand between his shoulder blades. It was not forgiveness. It was not nothing. We unpacked groceries together. Evan had bought 6 cans of soup, bananas, oatmeal, applesauce, crackers, and 3 kinds of pudding. He had also bought a large package of raw carrots. Ruth held it up. What am I supposed to do with these? Eat them. My stomach is healing. They're healthy. So is running. I'm not doing that either. I can cook them, I said. Both of them looked at me. I know how to cook carrots, Ruth said. We'll supervise. Evan stayed for dinner. The chicken was edible, the carrots were soft, and I put the salt on the table instead of under S. Nobody mentioned Claire until the plates were nearly empty. Then Evan said, she wants me to start seeing someone. A doctor? I asked. A therapist. Oh. Ruth looked at me. That's all you have? I'm processing. Evan pushed a carrot around his plate. She thinks I lie to avoid disappointing people. Do you? Ruth asked. I don't wake up and plan lies. That wasn't the question. He put down his fork. I adjust things. Facts? I asked. Context. Those are different. I know, Ruth said. Why did you tell Claire you stayed at the hospital? Because she was upset I skipped that work dinner. I told her you needed me. But I did need you, I said. I know. You just weren't there. I know. He said it without fighting, which gave the words an unfamiliar shape. Was the bar required? Ruth asked. It was a client thing at first. Then the client left, and I stayed. With friends, I said. People from work. Were they listening when Dad called? Ruth asked. 2 of them. And you were embarrassed. Yes. By him needing help? Evan looked at me. By not wanting to give it. That was closer to an apology than anything he had said to me. I picked up my glass. Your mother wants more water, I said. I didn't ask, Ruth said. Your glass is empty. That means my glass wants water. I carried it to the sink because sitting still had become difficult. Behind me, Evan said, Dad never lets anybody see him need something. Ruth answered, That doesn't give you permission to punish him when he does. I know. I filled her glass longer than necessary. After dinner, Evan began clearing plates. He carried mine while I was still drinking. I wasn't done. You were staring at it. I can stare and eat. Sorry. He set it back down. Claire asked if Dad helped with the cabinets, he said. I know, Ruth replied. I told her he did. That was true. She said I should have stopped him from coming. Could you have? Evan looked at me. Yes, he said. No, I said at the same time. Ruth folded her napkin. Evan gave a tired laugh. There's the family. What does that mean? I asked. It means I'm selfish. Mom's angry. And you still need to be the strongest person in every room. I admitted I shouldn't have gone. You admitted it after Mom ended up on the floor. Evan, Ruth said. No, I'm trying to understand. He gets to lie about where he's going, and that's because I manipulate him. I lie to Claire, and that's because I'm a bad husband. I never said you manipulated me. You said I knew you'd come. You did. And you like knowing. The accuracy of it made me angry. You sent that photograph on purpose. Of course I did. You'd promised to help. Then suddenly I was supposed to accept that every promise made before Mom's surgery had expired. She had just come home. I know that now. You knew she'd just come home then. Evan pushed his chair back. Ruth said, Sit down. I have to go. You came here to apologize. I did apologize. To me. Then you started another fight with him. Because he keeps acting like we're different. You are different, I said. Evan turned. You lied because you wanted Claire to believe you had done something. I lied because I didn't want Ruth to know I was doing it. He stared at me. That is the same difference, he said. The sentence went through me cleanly. Ruth looked from him to me. Evan carried his plate to the sink. I'm trying to do what everybody wants, but the rules change depending on who's talking. You could start with the truth, Ruth said. That sounds easy when you're the person everybody forgives. He put on his coat. At the door, he turned back to her. I am sorry, Mom, I know. He looked at me, waited, and left. I stood beside the sink. Ruth drank the water I had brought her. Was he right? I asked. About what? Us being the same? In that moment? Yes. She considered it. You both lied so you could avoid disappointing someone, she said. He wanted Claire to think he had shown up. You wanted me to think you had stayed. That's not an answer. It's the one I have. I began washing dishes. Ruth brought her plate to the counter herself. He came, she said, for dinner. Yes. He still wanted you to call Claire. Yes. He argued with me. You argued back. That's different. Ruth raised her eyebrows. I handed her the dish towel. We worked without talking. I washed. She dried slowly, leaning against the counter when she tired. When we finished, she left the blue towel beside the sink instead of correcting where I hung it. The phone rang after midnight. I woke in our bed this time. Ruth was asleep beside me, one hand curled on the pillow between us. I answered in the hallway. Dad, Evan said. His voice was tight. What happened? Water's coming out under the kitchen sink. I turned the faucet off, but it's still leaking. Did you close the shutoff valves? I don't know which ones. The two handles against the back wall. One's stuck. Use a towel for grip. I tried, then shut off the main. Where is it? I closed my eyes. I had shown him twice. Basement, front wall, beside the meter. I can't find it. You can? Dad, there's water on the floor. Get a flashlight. Follow the pipe from the meter. There was a long silence filled with movement and breathing. I see it. Turn it clockwise. It's tight. Keep steady pressure. A grunt, then quiet. Okay, he said. It stopped. Put towels under the sink. Call the plumber in the morning. Can you come look? I looked through the bedroom doorway at Ruth. No. It'll take 20 minutes. No. The word stood alone again. Evan exhaled. All right, he said. He did not laugh, accuse, or send a photograph. Before hanging up, he said, Thanks for telling me how. It was a smaller thing than coming to sit in a hospital. It was also the first time I helped him without taking the problem away. I went back to bed quietly. Ruth's eyes were open. Was that Evan? His sink leaked. Did the house float away? He shut off the water. With your help? I told him where the valve was. You've shown him before. Twice. She turned onto her side, facing me. Did you go? No. Did he ask? Yes. What did you say? No. Her eyes closed. That sounded almost healthy, she said. It felt terrible. That sounds even healthier. In the morning, Evan sent a photograph of the open cabinet under his sink. A braided hose had split near the fitting. Beside it was a second photograph of the new hose he had installed himself. Fixed, no flood. I enlarged the image and inspected the connection. Ruth looked over my shoulder. Are you going to tell him he did it wrong? I'm checking. Of course. The hose is twisted. Will the house explode? No. Then perhaps let him enjoy breakfast. I typed, Nice work. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Thanks. That was all. I put the phone down before I could explain the twist. At Ruth's follow-up appointment, Dr. Patel removed the last strips covering her incision and said she was healing well. Ruth lay on the examination table, looking suspicious of the compliment. Well, compared to what? She asked. Compared to where I expected you to be. And where is that? Arguing with me about whether you can vacuum? I haven't asked about vacuuming. You wrote it on your question list. He held up the page I had seen her tuck into her purse. Ruth looked at me. You said questions were good. They are. Your face disagrees. Dr. Patel smiled. No vacuuming for at least 2 more weeks. What about cooking? If you can do it sitting down. She can't, I said. Both of them looked at me. I mean, she won't, I corrected. She stands and moves around. Then Hal cooks, Dr. Patel said. Ruth asked, Have you seen his chicken? I'm a surgeon, not a marriage counselor. He listened to her abdomen and asked about pain, dizziness, appetite, sleep, and bowel movements. The old version of me would have answered at least half of those. This time, I kept my mouth shut. Ruth noticed. When the doctor left the room, she said, "You can talk. I was letting you answer. You looked like you were physically restraining yourself." I was. That must be exhausting. It is. The blood tests were reassuring, though one number remained slightly elevated. Dr. Patel said that could happen during recovery, but told us to call if Ruth developed a fever, chills, increased pain, or unusual fatigue. "You just described being alive after 60, Ruth told him. "You'll know if it feels different." On the way home, Ruth asked me to stop at Miller's Diner. "You're supposed to rest." "I've been resting for 2 weeks. I'm in danger of becoming upholstered." The diner was nearly empty. We took a booth by the window, and Ruth lowered herself carefully onto the seat. A waitress named Bev had been working there long enough to remember when I had hair. She set down menus, looked at Ruth, then looked at me. "You two all right?" "We're dating again," Ruth said. Bev nodded. "At your age, keep separate houses." She brought Ruth tea and me coffee without asking. Ruth ordered soup. I ordered a hamburger, then changed it to turkey because she watched me. "I didn't say anything," she said. "You used your medical face." "I don't have a medical face. It's the one that suggests my death would be inconvenient. Your death would be extremely inconvenient. I don't know where you put anything in the garage." The food came. Ruth managed half her soup and 3 crackers. I said, "You should have told me." "About the pain?" "Yes, I did." "More clearly." She crumbled a cracker between her fingers. "You should have listened more clearly." "That too." Bev passed with the coffee pot, slowed, then continued when neither of us raised a cup. "I found your notebook," I said. Ruth stopped crumbling the cracker. "What notebook?" "The one in your purse." "I was looking for your medication card. You emptied my purse?" I put it back. "Did you?" "Most of it." "What did you read?" "The page about things I would forget. That could be any page. The part where you wrote to ask me again about the pain." Her shoulders lowered. "I forgot I wrote that. I forgot you asked. You were fixing the sink. I was always fixing something. That sink leaked for 6 months. I fixed it eventually." "Yes." I looked at her hands. She still wore her wedding ring, though it had become loose. "Did you tell Evan about the pain before you told me?" I asked. "No." "What did you tell him about me?" Ruth took a drink of tea. "That you don't listen when you think you know the solution. That every favor becomes a project. That if I ask you to sit down, you hear a request to repair the chair. That's exaggeration." "Yes." "Anything else?" "That I felt alone sometimes." The diner sounds sharpened around us. A fork against a plate. The refrigerator humming behind the counter. Bev tearing a receipt from her pad. "Why didn't you say that to me?" "I did. Clearly," Ruth almost smiled. "No," she said, "not always." I moved my coffee cup aside. "I don't want you talking to Evan about me like that anymore. You're allowed to ask that. Will you stop?" "I'll stop using him to say things I won't say to you." "That's not exactly what I asked. It's what I can promise." I considered it. "All right. And you stop asking me what he means every time he hurts you." "I don't do that every time." "How?" "Fine." She held out her hand across the table. I took it. Her fingers were cool and lighter than I remembered, but the grip was the same. On Sunday, Ruth announced she wanted dinner with both our children. "At a restaurant?" I asked. "Here." "No." She looked up from the couch. "That was quick. You can't cook." "You can. Dr. Patel has never eaten here. We'll order something. You'll clean for 6 hours before they arrive. I will sit while you clean badly. Dana has a long drive. She said she'd come." "You already called her?" "I call people when I want things now. You're becoming dangerous." Evan hesitated when I invited him. "Will Dana be there?" "Yes." "Does she want me there?" "Ask her. I'm asking you." "I don't know." He let out a breath. "Is this an ambush?" "No." "Were you told to say that?" "I'm hanging up now." "All right, I'll come." Claire declined Ruth's invitation politely. She said she wasn't ready for a family dinner and did not want her absence interpreted as a message. "It's absolutely a message," Ruth said after reading the text. "It's a polite one. Those are the most difficult kind." Dana arrived with a salad and a bakery pie. Evan came 20 minutes later, carrying takeout containers from an Italian restaurant and a bag of ice. He rang the bell again. Dana noticed. "Did you change the locks?" "No," I said. Evan heard as I opened the door. I'm trying boundaries. You can still use your key. That feels like a trap. It wasn't, but now I'm considering it. Ruth had put on lipstick. She wore a green blouse and sat at the table with her hair pinned up. For a moment, she looked so much like herself that I forgot to worry. Then she stood to hug Evan and grip the chair afterward. "You okay?" he asked. "Sit down before your father takes my pulse." We ate chicken parmesan, salad, and bread. Dana accused Evan of choosing only because he wanted the leftovers. Conversation moved carefully at first. Dana talked about work. I complained about the price of furnace filters. Ruth asked Evan whether the plumber had charged him for an emergency visit. "I fixed it myself," he said. "With remote supervision," I added. Evan pointed his fork at me. He did not come over. Dana looked between us. "Should we clap?" "No," Ruth said. "That would frighten them." Halfway through dinner, Evan said he had made an appointment with a therapist. Dana drank water. "What?" he asked. "Nothing." "You have a face." "We all have faces," I said. Dana set down her glass. "I think it's good. You sound surprised." "I am surprised." "Thanks." "I can be surprised and glad." Evan looked at Ruth. "Is that allowed?" Apparently we're trying honesty. "It's exhausting," I said. Dana smiled, but Evan did not. "I told the therapist I lie when I think the truth will disappoint somebody," he said. "That was fast," Dana replied. "It was on the intake form." "What did she say?" I asked. "He." "What did he say?" "That I also lie when I think the truth will make me look bad," Ruth said. "Both can be true, I'm aware." The old irritation flickered, but Evan let it pass. After dinner, he carried plates to the sink. Dana joined him. They stood side by side, not speaking, while I wrapped leftovers. Then Evan said, "I shouldn't have called you before I came here." Dana kept rinsing a plate. "Which time?" "When Mom came home. I wanted you to think Dad was exaggerating. I know, I didn't want you showing up ready to hate me." "I didn't." "Do you now?" Dana turned off the water. "No," she said, "but I don't trust you to tell me what happened. That's fair." She handed him the plate to dry. It was not forgiveness, it was work. Ruth watched from the table, her face tired and satisfied. When everyone stood to leave, I handed Evan the trash bag. "Can you take this out?" He took it without a joke. Dana hugged Ruth and whispered something I couldn't hear. Evan waited by the front door until Dana drove away. "Do you need anything else?" he asked. The question was directed at both of us. Ruth said, "No, thank you for coming." He kissed her cheek. At the door, he looked at me. "The hose is still holding. I knew it would." "You said it was twisted." I didn't say anything. "You zoomed in on the picture." I saw the notification. I didn't know phones reported that. They don't, I guessed. He smiled. I pointed toward his car. "Go home." After he left, I found Ruth collecting glasses from the table. "Leave those. I'm carrying 2. You've done enough." I sat through dinner. "You've been on your feet. I have to rebuild some strength. Tomorrow." She put one glass down harder than necessary. It did not break. "I am tired of tomorrow," she said. Her voice trembled on the last word. I looked at her hands. They were shaking. "Sit down." "I'm fine." Her face had gone pale beneath the lipstick. I touched the back of my fingers to her forehead. She was hot. Ruth closed her eyes. "It's warm in here," she said. "No," I told her. "It isn't." The thermometer read 101.8. I took the temperature again. "Thermometers don't reconsider," Ruth said. "This one might be wrong. It was expensive. Expensive things can be wrong. Then why did you buy it?" The second reading was 102.1. I called the number on the refrigerator. A nurse asked about the fever, pain, chills, nausea, and the appearance of the incision. Ruth stood in the kitchen hugging herself while insisting she was not cold. "She's shivering," I said. "I'm not." The nurse heard her teeth click. "Is that Ruth?" she asked. "Yes." "Put me on speaker." I did. "Ruth, I need you to go to the emergency department. I have an appointment next week. This should happen tonight. I just had my family here. That doesn't lower your temperature. Neither does sitting in an emergency room for 6 hours." The nurse told us to go immediately. I expected panic. Instead, I felt the strange calm that comes when a problem finally has instructions. I brought Ruth's shoes, packed the medications in their pharmacy bag, folded the discharge papers into my canvas bag, Anne added her phone charger without being reminded. I wrote down her last doses and the thermometer readings. Then I helped her remove the green blouse and put on a soft sweatshirt. She watched me gather everything. "You know where my insurance card is?" she asked. "Front sleeve of your wallet, my medication list, in my phone and the small pocket of the bag. Your shirt is buttoned wrong." I looked down. It wasn't. "I was checking," she said. "You're becoming mean. I have a fever." On the porch, she leaned heavily against my arm. The lipstick she had worn for dinner was still on, though some had faded from the center of her mouth. I thought of the morning of her surgery and wished I didn't. Ruth saw me looking. "Don't use that face." "What face?" "The one where you've already imagined the funeral." "I have not." "You skipped right past the emergency room. I'm helping you into the truck. Do that then." I called Dana from the road. She answered before the second ring. "What happened? How do you know something happened? You never call this late unless someone is bleeding or you've locked yourself out. Your mother has a fever. How high?" 102.1. "We're going back to Mercy. I'm leaving now." "No." "Dad." "They don't know if she'll be admitted." "Wait until I call. I can be there in 3 hours. And if they send her home in 1, then I'll turn around." Ruth reached across the console. "Give me the phone." I put it on speaker instead. "Dana," she said, "stay home until we know something. You sound terrible. Your father has looked terrible for years, and nobody drives 3 hours. That joke doesn't work when you're sick. It works better." Dana sighed. "Call me as soon as they know. We will. And if you need me, we will tell you," Ruth said. That was the promise Dana had asked for. She heard it. "Okay." After we hung up, Ruth looked out the passenger window. "Are you calling Evan?" "I don't know. He was here 2 hours ago." "I know. He asked if we needed anything." We said no. We didn't need anything then. A red light stopped us beneath an empty intersection. "Do you want me to call him?" I asked. "I want you to decide whether you're withholding information or setting a boundary." "I'm not withholding." "He doesn't know. That isn't the same." Ruth rested her head against the seat. "Maybe it is from his side." I turned into the emergency entrance. An orderly brought a wheelchair. Ruth objected until the automatic doors opened and cold air hit her face. Then she sat without another word. The waiting room was crowded with people who had all reached the point where home no longer felt safe. A man held a towel around one hand. A woman in pajama pants slept across 3 chairs. A television mounted near the ceiling played a cooking competition with subtitles. Ruth leaned against me. "I should have let you clear the glasses," she said. "What glasses?" "After dinner. This didn't happen because you carried 2 glasses. You don't know that. Neither do you. I was tired before they came. Why didn't you say?" "Because I wanted one meal where nobody watched my face." I looked at the canvas bag between my shoes. "You had that meal?" "No, I didn't." "What do you mean? You counted how many times I stood up." "I counted 3. Exactly." I put my arm around her. She let it stay. A nurse called her name after 40 minutes. By then, her temperature had reached 102.6. They took blood, started fluids, and gave her medication for the fever. A young resident asked what prescriptions she took. I opened my phone, then I closed it. Ruth answered slowly, naming each one. When she forgot the dose of the blood pressure medication, I supplied it. She looked at me. "What?" "You knew. I wrote it down." "You didn't check. I've been paying attention." The resident pressed gently around her incision. Ruth flinched on the left side. "You said your pain wasn't worse," I said. "It wasn't until he pushed." "Has that area been sore today?" the resident asked. Ruth hesitated. "Since this afternoon," she said. "At dinner?" I asked. "Yes." "You said you were fine. I was hosting." "You were sitting at a table. Hosting is not a position. It's a condition." The resident ordered blood work and a scan. He left before I could argue with the definition. Ruth lay back against the pillow. "You're doing it again," I said. "Doing what?" "Deciding what I'm allowed to know because you don't want to inconvenience me." "You were enjoying dinner. I would have enjoyed knowing you hurt. That is a deeply strange sentence. You know what I mean." "Yes." She turned her face toward me. The fever had made her eyes shiny. "I don't know how to be the sick person," she said. "I don't know how to be the useful person without making everybody sick." That sounded rehearsed. It wasn't. It was almost good. I took her hand. The scan showed a small pocket of infection near the surgical area. The resident used the word small 3 times, then said they wanted to admit Ruth for intravenous antibiotics and observation. For how long, she asked. At least overnight? Overnight is not a length of time in hospitals. Until tomorrow morning, at minimum, that's better. By then, it was nearly 11. They moved her to a room on the 6th floor. It was not the room she had been in before, but it had the same beige walls, the same narrow closet, and the same vinyl chair folded against one corner. I looked at the chair and felt the original phone call return so sharply that I could hear the bar behind Evan's voice. Ruth saw where I was looking. "You should call him," she said. "Do you want him here?" I didn't say that. "Then what do you want?" "For him to have the truth before we decide what he'll do with it." I took out my phone. There were 3 missed calls from Dana and a text. I told Evan Mom is at Mercy. I didn't ask him to go. Below it was a message from Evan. "What's happening?" Another arrived while I was reading. "Dad," I typed, "infection near surgery site. IV antibiotics. Staying overnight. Stable." He called immediately. I stepped into the hallway. "Why didn't you tell me? We didn't know anything until now." Dana knew. "I called her from the truck." "You could have called me from the truck." "Yes." The answer stopped him. "Are you punishing me?" he asked. "No. It feels like it. I didn't know whether information would become another request you resented. I asked if you needed anything before I left. At that point, we didn't. And now?" I looked through the doorway. A nurse was connecting a clear bag to Ruth's IV. "Now she's admitted. That's not what I asked." "No," I said, "it isn't." He breathed into the phone. "Do you need anything?" The question should have been simple. Instead, I heard the first call, my apology, the laugh, and all the explanations that followed. "I have her medications in the charger," I said. "I brought clean clothes, so nothing." I didn't say that. "What do you need, Dad?" I gripped the phone tighter. "I don't know." "Then call when you do." He hung up. I went back into the room. Ruth was watching me. "He asked what we needed," I said. "What did you tell him?" "That I didn't know." "Was that true?" "Yes." "Good." "How is not knowing good?" "Because you didn't make up a task so he could prove something." The antibiotic bag dripped steadily. Ruth closed her eyes. The medicine for the fever had started working, but she looked smaller against the hospital bed than she had at home. I unfolded the chair. "You're not sleeping there," she said. "I'm not sleeping. That was your plan last time. Last time you woke up scared. I'm awake now. You'll fall asleep." "So will you. I slept 11 hours, 3 days ago." I sat. My phone buzzed with Dana's name. I texted her that Ruth was stable and admitted. Dana replied that she would leave at 6 in the morning unless we told her otherwise. Claire texted Ruth. Then she texted me. I heard. "Is she okay?" I answered. "Stable. Antibiotics. Thank you." No message came from Evan. At midnight, a nurse dimmed the lights. The corridor quieted to rolling carts and distant voices. Ruth slept in brief pieces, waking whenever the blood pressure cuff tightened. At 12:47, she opened her eyes and looked toward the door. A figure stood outside the room, speaking softly to the nurse. Evan came in wearing the same sweater he had worn to dinner. His hair was flattened on one side, as if he had lain down and gotten up again. He held no flowers, no bag, nothing that explained or justified his arrival. He stopped at the foot of the bed. "I didn't know if I was supposed to come," he said. Ruth's voice was rough from fever. "You weren't supposed to," she told him. "You were supposed to decide." Evan pulled the second visitor chair away from the wall. It made a small rubber squeal against the floor. He winced as if the chair had embarrassed him. "I decided," he said. "So I see," Ruth replied. He sat near the foot of the bed, not beside her. The distance looked deliberate, though I couldn't tell whether he was protecting her or himself. "What did the doctor say?" I explained the infection, the antibiotics, and what they planned to monitor. Evan listened without interrupting. When I finished, he looked at Ruth. "Are you in pain?" "Yes." "How bad?" 5. "It's 6, I said. Ruth looked at me. "I'm revising the scale." Evan almost smiled. A nurse came in to check the IV and take Ruth's temperature. It had dropped below 101. The nurse called that encouraging. Ruth called it a passing grade. Evan stayed out of the way until the nurse left. Then he said, "I've been trying to figure out what to say." Ruth adjusted the blanket over her stomach. That has been part of the problem. I know. Do you? I think so. Thinking so and knowing are different. I'm trying, Mom. She looked tired enough to surrender, which made her voice gentler but not softer. Then try, without asking me to grade it. Evan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. He stared at his hands. When Dad called, I was at the bar with 2 people from work. The client had already left. I could have gone. I kept still. I didn't want to, he continued. That's the truth. I heard Dad asking me to come sit in a hospital room, and I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to see you like that again. I didn't want everybody at the table to hear that I was scared. So you laughed, Ruth said. Yes. At him? At the whole thing? What whole thing? Evan rubbed his palms together, him asking. Me not wanting to go, knowing I should, knowing he'd probably stay if I didn't. I said, You knew that, yes. You knew I wouldn't leave her alone. Yes, Dad. The answer hurt more calmly than I expected. Ruth asked, Why was that funny? It wasn't. It was to you then. I needed it to be. He looked at me for the first time. If it was ridiculous that you needed help, then I wasn't selfish for refusing. The hospital room seemed to narrow around the sentence. Evan continued before either of us could respond. And when I said you could handle it, that was me telling myself you didn't really need me. You always handle everything. If something goes wrong, you fix it, or Mom explains it, or Dana drives 3 hours with a bag full of the correct things. I knew somebody would come through. Somebody did, Ruth said. Your father stayed. I know. He didn't shower. He didn't sleep. He apologized to you for asking. I know. You keep saying that. Because I do know now. Ruth's hand tightened around the edge of the blanket. Say the rest, she said. Evan's eyes moved toward me. Mom, say what you said on the call. You heard it. I want to hear whether you can say it while looking at him. I wanted to stop her. The impulse rose automatically, the same old hand reaching to soften a fall before anyone had begun to drop. I left it alone. Evan turned his chair so he faced me. I said, Mom always did the hard parts for you. The words sounded different in the hospital, without music behind them. Did you mean it? I asked. Partly. Ruth closed her eyes. Evan looked at her. You told me things. I know what I told you. You said Dad didn't listen. You said he treated every feeling like a repair job. I said I felt alone sometimes. And I believed you. You used it. He flinched. Ruth went on. There is a difference between hearing that someone has hurt me and saving it until you need a weapon. I know. Stop saying that unless you're willing to do something with what you know. I am? What? He looked at her, then at me. I don't know yet. Ruth took a slow breath. Her face tightened with pain, and I reached toward the call button. She stopped my hand. Not yet. I let go. Evan said, I thought I was defending you when I said it. No, Ruth replied. You were defending yourself with something I trusted you to hear. I understand. Do you? Yes. This time, the word did not sound automatic. I shifted in my chair. She wasn't wrong about me. Ruth looked at me sharply. I didn't say she was. You didn't have to. I found the notebook. Evan frowned. What notebook? Your mother kept a list of things I would forget. She wrote down that she needed to ask me again about the pain. How? It matters. To him? To me? Ruth released the blanket and settled back. I looked at Evan. She asked me about pain under her ribs months ago. I told her to stop eating tomatoes. Then I went back under the sink. Evan's mouth moved, almost forming the old joke. He stopped it. I didn't know, he said. Neither did I, because I didn't listen. Ruth said, This is not a contest over which man failed me better. No, I said. But he learned some things from us. Evan stared at the floor. When you were growing up, your mother explained you to me. Then when you were older, she explained me to you. I let her do it because speaking directly meant somebody might be angry. You were angry anyway, he said. Yes. You just acted disappointed. I usually was disappointed. I know. No. I made sure you knew. Every time I came over to fix something, I made a point of seeing all the other things you hadn't fixed. You didn't have to make a point. You stood there looking around. That was the point. A reluctant smile crossed his face and disappeared. The cabinets, he said. I hated that you came. You sent me a photograph because you wanted me to come. I know, I wanted you there. And then as soon as you walked in, I felt 12 years old. You were never allowed to install cabinets at 12. It's a feeling, Dad. I know what you meant. That's new, Ruth said. Be careful. Evan looked at her. I wasn't insulting him. You were close. I don't know how to talk to him without being close. Try anyway. He nodded. I hated that you came, he told me, because I knew you'd do it better. I also knew you'd look at the whole garage and see everything I hadn't finished. Then you lied to Mom to come help me, and part of me liked that too. Why? Because it proved you chose me. The answer sat between us. I thought of Ruth on the kitchen floor, broken glass around her bare feet. You like that, I said. Yes. Even after she got hurt? No. Jesus, Dad. She didn't get hurt, Ruth said. Do not improve the story for emphasis. You were on the floor. I was offended, not injured. Evan stood, walked 2 steps, then sat again. I told you to leave the garage, after I was already there. I still told you. I know. So you can't make all of that mine. I'm not. You called me to say Mom fell. I called to tell you. You used that voice. Apparently my voice has a criminal record. Ruth's eyes opened. It does. Despite everything, Evan laughed softly. So did I. The laughter vanished almost immediately, but it had not injured anyone. A nurse returned to silence an alarm on the IV pump. She checked the line, scanned the medication, and reminded Ruth to rest. When she left, Ruth looked at both of us. I would like to try that now. Evan stood. I can go. I didn't say that. He lowered himself back into the chair. Ruth closed her eyes. For nearly half an hour, no one spoke. Evan took out his phone once, looked at it, and put it face down on his leg. I watched the IV drip and tried not to count. Ruth's breathing slowed. Evan whispered, Claire didn't come home. I kept my eyes on Ruth. I'm sorry. I went to the therapist. You told us. I went because I thought if I could tell her I had an appointment, she'd see I was fixing it. That sounds like you. Yeah. What happened? The therapist asked what I wanted. I said I wanted Claire to come home. He asked what I would want if she didn't. I looked at him. What did you say? I didn't know. That seems to be going around. He said not knowing wasn't an emergency. Did you believe him? No. His honesty almost made me smile. Evan rubbed his thumb across the edge of his phone. I keep wanting to call Claire and tell her I came here tonight. Don't. I know. Do you? He glanced at me. I didn't call. Good. I texted that Mom was admitted and that I was going to the hospital. No picture, no speech. Did she answer? She said, I hope Ruth is okay. That's something. It's about Mom. Yes. He leaned back in the chair. I used to think marriage was mostly somebody knowing which version of a story you meant. I looked at Ruth. It can become that, I said. Is that good? No. We were quiet again. Around 3, I went to the vending machines. I bought coffee that tasted like warm cardboard and a package of crackers. When I returned, Evan had moved his chair closer to the bed. Ruth was awake. She was saying, The worst part wasn't that you didn't come. Evan looked at her. I thought it was. The worst part was hearing how easy it was for you to make my fear sound childish. I'm sorry. You called me 64, not 6. His face tightened. I remember. I woke up not knowing where I was. I asked your father why my mother hadn't come. My mother has been dead for 22 years. Evan lowered his eyes. Your father was the only familiar thing in that room, she said. He asked you to sit with me so he could sleep. You made him ashamed for needing that. I'm sorry, he said again. Ruth's voice trembled. I need you to understand that I was not asking you to save me. I needed you to be willing to see me afraid. Evan reached toward her hand and stopped before touching it. Can I? She turned her palm upward. He held it. I was afraid to see it, he said. I know. And I made that your fault. Yes. I'm sorry, Mom. Ruth looked at their hands. I believe you are sorry. He drew in a breath. That does not mean everything is repaired, she said. I know, but it means I believe that sentence. His eyes filled. He nodded and looked away before any tears fell. I drank the terrible coffee. Near 5, Ruth slept again. The fever was below 100. A nurse said the morning team would repeat blood work and decide whether she needed another night. My back ached. My eyes felt full of sand. Evan noticed. You should go home. I'm fine. No, you aren't. I've slept in worse chairs. Mom's asleep. She wakes up. I'm here. The sentence frightened me, not because I thought he would leave, because I didn't know whether trusting him now would mean I had learned something or forgotten too quickly. Evan saw me hesitate. You don't have to, he said. That nearly decided it for me. I looked at Ruth. Her eyes were closed, but after a moment they opened. She had heard us. Neither of us spoke for her. I stood and picked up the canvas bag, then set it down again. The charger and medication list could stay. My hands felt strangely empty. I faced my son. I need help, I said. He waited. The words were harder the second time, because now I knew exactly what they could cost. Can you stay with your mother while I go home and sleep? Evan did not laugh. Yes, he said. I can stay. I looked at Ruth. She gave me a small nod. Only then did I take my coat from the closet. At the door, Evan said, Dad? I turned. I'll call if anything changes. All right. And if nothing changes, I'll stay until you come back. He pulled his chair closer to the bed. I left them there together, not because the past had been erased, but because for the first time, my son had been given the chance to carry something I did not carry for him. The parking garage gate would not accept my ticket. I fed it into the machine 3 times while a line formed behind me. On the 4th attempt, the ticket came back with red letters across the screen. Payment required. I paid inside. The machine did not reconsider. A man in the car behind me honked. I raised one finger without deciding which finger until it was already in the air. Then I pressed the help button and explained myself to a voice inside a metal box. By the time the gate lifted, I was shaking. Not from exhaustion, not entirely. I had left Ruth in a hospital room with the son who had laughed when I asked him to sit there. Every mile away from Mercy felt like a test I had designed for all 3 of us without knowing the answers. At home, the dining table still held the folded napkin Evan had used. A wine glass Ruth had carried before the fever stood beside the sink. The lipstick mark on its rim had dried into a perfect half moon. I put the glass in the dishwasher. Then I took it out and washed it by hand because I didn't trust the machine with the thin stem. My phone rang while I was upstairs changing. Dana. I'm already driving, she said before I could speak. Your mother's stable. Fever is down. I know. Evan texted me. That surprised me. He's with her, I said. I know that too. You can turn around if you want. Do you want me to? I'm not answering that. Why? Because if I say yes, you'll think I expect you to come. If I say no, you'll think I'm deciding you're not needed. Dana was quiet. Good job, she said. That sounded insulting. It wasn't. I'm still coming. All right. I'll relieve Evan when I get there. Don't make him leave. I wasn't going to. I know. Do you? Apparently that phrase is banned now. She laughed. It was the first laugh connected to that hospital that did not make my chest hurt. I got into our bed without setting an alarm. Sleep did not come immediately. I kept imagining Ruth waking disoriented, Evan looking at his phone, the IV pump sounding while neither of them knew what to do. Then I remembered his chair pulled close to hers. I slept. When I woke, sunlight lay across the bedroom floor. For one terrified second, I did not know what day it was. My phone showed 4 messages from Evan. 6:13, temp 99.7. She's asleep. 7:26. Nurse says blood work looks better. 8:04. She ate half a piece of toast and says the eggs are a hate crime. 9:11. Dr. Patel's coming around noon. No change otherwise. There was no question attached. No request for praise. Just information. I called him. Everything okay? He answered. That was my question. Yeah. She's tired. Dana got here about 20 minutes ago. You can go home. I told you I'd stay until you came back. Dana's there. That isn't what I told you. I sat on the edge of the bed. All right, I said. I'm leaving now. Take a shower. I already did. You sound like you're in bed. I'm sitting on it. Eat something. Who put you in charge? Mom, 40 years ago, apparently. The joke was close to the old wound. He heard it after he said it. Sorry, he added. I considered making him work harder. Instead, I said, I'm making toast. Good. He stayed on the line until I reached the kitchen. At Mercy, Dana sat by the window with coffee. Evan remained beside Ruth's bed. He had taken off his sweater and rolled it into a pillow behind his neck. His shirt was wrinkled, and there was a red mark along one cheek. Ruth was awake. You look terrible, she told me. I slept. Then that's your natural face. Your eggs offended you. They were wet. Eggs are usually wet before they're cooked. These remained emotionally wet. Dana held up both hands. I have no role in this conversation. Evan stood and gave me the chair. You stayed, I said. I said I would. I put my hand on his shoulder. He stiffened, then did not. Thank you. He looked toward Ruth. She only tried to leave once. I needed the bathroom, Ruth said. That's still leaving. You walked her? Yes. You called the nurse? Yes, Dad. Did she get dizzy? No, Ruth said. He held my elbow exactly the way I asked him not to. I was hovering. You were clutching. I panicked. She looked at me. It may be genetic. Dr. Patel arrived before noon. The antibiotics were working, but he wanted Ruth to stay one more night. She argued for 7 minutes and lost. Evan listened to the instructions without asking whether she could be released earlier if somebody signed something. That might sound like a small achievement. In our family, it qualified as restraint. In the hallway, I told him to go sleep. Are you sure? Yes. Dana's staying? For a while. I'm here, and tonight, I'll stay. He looked through the doorway at his mother. I can come back. You don't need to? He waited, perhaps expecting me to change the answer. Okay, he said. Claire stepped off the elevator as he turned to leave. She wore dark work clothes and carried Ruth's blue water bottle. We had left it on the living room floor when we rushed out. Evan stopped. Hi, he said. Hi. Neither of them moved closer. Claire looked into the room. How is she? Better. She has to stay tonight. I heard. Dana told you? Ruth texted. Ruth apparently had resumed managing information while attached to an IV. Claire held up the bottle. I brought this. She'll be glad. Evan pushed his hands into his pockets. I stayed last night, he said. Claire's face changed by almost nothing. He noticed. I'm not telling you so it counts for anything, he added. I'm explaining why I look like this. You look tired. I am. I'm glad you came. He nodded. There were a dozen openings where he could have asked when she was coming home, told her about the apology, or asked me to confirm what happened. He took none of them. I'm going to sleep, he said. Dad and Dana are here. All right. He walked toward the elevators. Claire watched him go, then came into Ruth's room and set the bottle beside her bed. That did not repair their marriage. It did give me the first proof that Evan could leave a truth standing without decorating it. Ruth came home 2 days later with oral antibiotics and another set of instructions. This time, she did not wear lipstick for the ride. She slept against the passenger window while I drove. Evan offered to meet us at the house. I told him we could manage. He said, okay, call if that changes. It did not change, and he did not come anyway. The following weeks did not transform anyone as neatly as I would have preferred. Ruth recovered enough to become impatient, then impatient enough to overdo things, then wise enough to admit when she had. She completed 3 walks around the block, declared physical therapy a conspiracy, and celebrated being cleared to vacuum by refusing to vacuum. I learned to cook 5 meals without written instructions. 6 if grilled cheese counted. Ruth said it did not. We also learned how often we had used Evan as a hallway between us. When Ruth became angry that I had scheduled a furnace inspection without asking, she told me instead of calling him. When I felt her dismissing something because she thought the disagreement would tire me, I asked her to finish the sentence. Sometimes we handled it well. Sometimes we spent an evening not speaking because direct communication is not automatically pleasant communication. But it belonged to us. I gave Ruth back the small notebook from her purse. She read the page about the pain beneath her ribs, then tore out the list titled, Things Hall Will Forget. You don't have to do that, I said. I'm not doing it for you. What will you write instead? Things I will tell Hal once. That seems strict. You may request clarification. I appreciate the appeals process. She put the notebook in the kitchen drawer where we could both reach it. Evan finished the garage shelves without me. He sent a photograph. One bracket was mounted slightly too high. I typed, looks good. Then I deleted, checked the left bracket. The shelves remained standing. He started therapy and stopped announcing each appointment. Claire stayed with her sister for 6 weeks. After that, she agreed to attend counseling with him, though she did not move all her clothes home. Some nights she stayed at their house. Some nights she did not. Evan once asked Ruth what he should say to convince Claire he had changed. Ruth told him, if you have to convince her, you haven't given her enough time to notice. He did not like the answer. He also did not ask me to improve it. Dana and I spoke every Sunday. The first few calls were awkward because neither of us needed anything. We discussed weather, her work, and whether the shampoo she chose for Ruth had been overpriced. One week she said she could visit but was tired and would rather stay home. "All right," I said. She paused. "That's it? Would you like resistance?" "No." "Then stay home." She came the following weekend because she wanted to. When Evan called with problems, I tried not to confuse answering with solving. I told him which plumber I trusted. I explained how to reset the furnace. When he asked if I could help move the last cabinet, I said my back was bothering me. "All right," he said, "I'll call Matt." I waited for guilt, negotiation, or a photograph of the cabinet lying helplessly on the floor. None came. The first time I asked him for something after the hospital, my heart behaved as if I were stepping into traffic. Ruth's prescription was ready across town. I had promised to stay home for a delivery window, and she was too tired to go. I called Evan. "Can you pick up your mother's medication after work?" He hesitated. The pause lasted perhaps 1 second. I still heard every older version of it. "Yeah," he said. "Text me the pharmacy." He arrived at 7 with the paper bag stapled shut and the receipt folded inside. "Anything else?" he asked. "No." He nodded and left. Ruth opened the bag. "You checked the label?" I asked. He did. "How do you know?" He sent me a picture before he left the pharmacy. I felt foolishly pleased. By the time Dr. Patel cleared Ruth from all restrictions, the weather had turned cold enough that our maple tree stood bare. She wanted another family dinner, not because the last one caused an infection, she said. I asked. I wasn't going to say that. "You looked like you were preparing to." We invited Dana, Evan, and Claire. Claire said she would come but drive separately. No one interpreted it aloud. I cooked Ruth's chicken recipe. I used the right crackers, removed the foil at the right time, and did not smell it for attitude. Evan arrived early. He rang the bell. "You still have a key?" I said when I opened the door. "I know. Are you ever going to use it?" "When I'm invited to." "That's an inefficient system. It's a boundary. You're enjoying that word." "A little." He carried the serving dish to the table. Dana brought pie. Claire came 5 minutes after her, kissed Ruth's cheek, and took the chair beside Evan without being asked. Their knees touched once under the table. Neither moved away, though I tried not to watch. Dinner was noisy and imperfect. Dana said the chicken was good. Ruth accused her of surprise. Claire asked for the recipe. I told her it was written on masking tape inside the cabinet because the original instructions had been on a dish of raw chicken. Evan laughed. This time, everyone else did too. Afterward, Ruth started to stand. "All clear," Evan said. "You cooked," she told me. "Sit down." I looked at the plates, the serving dish, and the glasses waiting to be carried. Then I sat beside my wife. Evan took my plate before I finished the last bite. "I wasn't done," I said. He put it back without complaint. When I finally handed it to him, he carried it into the kitchen. Claire followed with the glasses. Dana wrapped the pie while arguing with both of them about how much everyone should take home. Ruth reached for my hand beneath the table. From the kitchen came the ordinary sounds of people working badly together, running water, cupboard doors. Claire telling Evan the blue towel was for dishes. He said, "I know." Ruth squeezed my fingers. For once, neither of us got up to help.